ngalo na la wato kuma ta bake asira linga da fo ko nyi fawo dinkira
hey elafta maboro la bank kalpo e fa igiso e seo na yuna jang iba dinkira to kati yuna wallet ibe falindiro ke kan sandiri nyat
ni la yuna wallet to si muna fanno tulo yabo mano kandri en fen jama isi sanno la yuna wallet to ko yalla kamo soto ila wallet to kono
alkana la konda no tay ka bi yuna wallet anatan tolle bukan na bayo fanondi abe sona yaren ko bulu podo ne la mobile scan yo science ise ma boro ke wato men diate
ko be sandro ke fangole ba ko ba ke kan dimbalem isi ngi lonko e sandro ke yona enterprise wato wati ani la yona wallet to la e be lan kamo soto kay la wallet to kono
alina nga kafun nanyi yuna dimbayal kan kasandiro ke yuna biti poto alina kata nyin ko kentat la sura fa lolu di sandiro kije se ma boro fanan keje
moro jundi ana nyum ko di mabal din kadeda
Assalamu alaikum fadingol ngal bismillah na Kerr Fatou programme ton kamin ke aramisa ñen program follow the after sunkaro after sunkaro ngal be nga fale Eid Mubarak to you all almana salisiala alte salibol kinen through stars sign na stars be working so you can send us stars whilst our programs are ongoing from the Kerr Fatou to the Grand Bandaba, all the shows you can send us stars, and when you do it helps Kerr Fatou to grow. You know that we don't have sponsors now because guys sponsor but you guys watching our show, sharing it, and also following us on YouTube help this network to grow. So we thank you all. Of course, Muruntan, I'm back again to look at what is happening, what is trending. And of course, my favorite two economists, Manneh and Gajigo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Muruntan, I'm back. So, you know, when I'm going to be calm because when I bring you two guys, you paint this country negative, and I do the instigation. And today I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be asking simple questions, and then you guys answer. But I think we need to look at it. I know I had the Minister of Minister of Works and Infrastructure. You guys had a back and forth about the Albarca contract, the Banjul Seaport, and I had him here. And of course, you know, it was good for you to come because that is something that you also the Minister of Finance about the mega bank sales and other issues, and of course, Dr. Gajigo, we needed to have you here because there are so many things. You wrote this article about our state of our agriculture. You also mentioned the sale of some tractors, procurement issues. You kept on saying state capture. That is something we will discuss today when it comes to sale of those agriculture. And also you talked about recently, Dr. Gajigo, I'm thinking, when Dr. Gajigo still on Afri the 50s, Senegal bridge go still and I woke up yesterday and I saw this article that you sent in. It's just reigniting a whole new debate, and I think this is something also we'll talk about. But also you also talked about NAWEC. How NAWEC is losing billions through audit, and this is something audit reports they have been flagged for the past 7 years, and government has not done anything. You said this, but all of these stories, I have not had any reaction from the government, and I think it will be good sometimes because so it's good to always have these things look at. But first, the Eid message, President Barola Eid message. You know, every year, President after the program, Eid message to go, and then this year, again, President addressed the elders of the Banjul. Dr. Manneh, mune la reaction to President Eid message wala mai?
Disappointment
But I was not surprised. Because each time it happens, it's the same reaction we get. Anytime he gets those elders from Banjul and the microphones are there, he loses control. Last time, or the one before, Madi Jobatele attack, and so forth. Anytime he has to say something, me along kasi banko be jakalindi wallahi jikilate indi. Almamol tata je nimbanyon alfal purkata konton salola. Normally, ngasi ganyo konton salola ganyo hadama ya wala muna ado fa.
Hade.
Itelum banko nyaton kodi. Yekuma fo mi yalan kasi molu jikindi. Kodi alhamdulillah jikobe na kuoto le sitano nyato sikeno ten. Iyenta wala kela.
Hade.
Iyenta min fero min kela kadimba ya be sondi nyokan ke karanyo bala. Ite nyanta wala kela mo ite mo president wala. But instead of that, ite was kamol attack. Media yalla wuto altol ma jaw kumba.
Nan dolmo banjara dolma la kengo.
Asi commencé ka ko sombe falma la banko le general.
Yeah.
Banko jene mo ne bije. Al mamulu ha say banko dol bije ika ila kutubo ko kase ka dila.
Ako banko dol bije ika kutubo safele yadi al mamula andu hani fendi niabo je do problem oti. I don't know what country does that, but I don't see any country in the sub-region minka okay.
To a certain extent, Tunisia kakeleno.
Tunisia, okay.
Okay. Ila al-Mamulu, they have a Ministry of Religious Affairs, minka kutbo safe, and they pronounce it.
Yeah.
Okay. But where muna samana Tunisia kon? Moli ye fonyo kata jama ngoto. Wala nibi teke wad nafinu kutubo bina banna ye taje. I was in Tunisia nun sanji kono tambe Tunisia bir African Development Bank sawonta je. Tumodo ntolta kuto fonyo je. Ika wule kata bita jama to salola, ye stop siloka. Suba salo and so forth. So yes, we had that in Tunisia. But mune labanta je, mo labanta rebellery against government. Labanta masakunda, pulia masakunda ka mo batat. So ay mo fatiandile. Yero masakunda fe balambaya tandia. Wol natal labang in the end, the revolution in Tunisia. Katu ya mul kamfandi batata de wunta New Torata. Following killing one man, Mohamed Bouzizi, police will kata batandira ataka fursunyo aka yiridi ngon lewa fite. Watu wadi salfeng busiala.
Yeah.
Lunkila kamfata tata police station nyatli ngola. Aisa so bang fankanja fanja niji.
Yeah.
Afata. Wata mulin kafa misi butu wale kata the spark ti miye Tunisia be dundi nyoto.
Yeah.
In a few days, when Alit Bortata. And that was the beginning of the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
Amanda Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Liberia, Taring. Obe parce que ça dit no contrôle là non. Wala fana yat na tout monde Tunisia je the Muslim Brotherhood in har sembo soto je. Because moli ko dan din na dino ita fa la nyami nyanda kala nyami. Ala le nyin dino jindi nyanang. So, molu batata o dino to nyamin starting from Kira sallallahu alaihi wasallam iko na yo control molu buli min date te woke in the place of dino mol balanta.
Yeah.
So niko badun la jang min kita Tunisia wasl skeno jang mo do anyam bankoy wala mo do anyam bankoy. So yafata mol la dino la.
Yeah.
Yafata mol la dina nyaton kol la. Ya jame akmas jane ka almamulu muta ke soron ke tocho ke yemandi.
Yeah.
Alabanta nyaadile. Ahena siri equatorial Guinea bi amanta nudlado.
Yeah.
Fata mo la dina alfalla. Fata mo la dino la. Kutubo men ka fo jama ngoto. Kutubo is because kutubo social issues yentol discourse la. Mimbe kerim banko kan. Mimbe banko dingol sula. Mimbe nyanta mol silala. Minyanta falila. Kutubo ka wala fu kutubo dola. Almamol janta wala fola. So ni wol mawfo hani mol min kata jama be fona kata jama ngoto. Oto mon state house jama mol kata ni ye ko tege. Because min ka fo je an min be kere mankili. So mol yalla no kutubo almamolu wol be ala le sirin jang.
Yeah.
Itollem khalifoti bi dunya kono jang. Itolle seta kiral noto. Itolle be mol ye janning ka mol hakilo bande ala la kuwala dino la kuwala. Itol falin nola.
Yeah.
danta mi yol se falen nol to mando bari almamu hakkangol sol falen nol so ibura yela dino tamandi nyam pour kam mol be karandi ka hakilo bulandi amuru alaka
Dr. Gajigo, so niaji be fango Soveto, even Afrobarometer Soveto, in Gambia, Yajiloko people believe more in the religious leaders than any of the groupings, from the executive to the National Assembly. Molu lata dinam nyaton ko lela more than any of these groupings. So I come to because we have so much respect for our elders. And yeah, you could say President Oko people dinama nyaton ko dol ka fengo min dolu preach as a banko general, and I don't know what's the way forward right whatever I nyami, and he even said ko banko dol I also okay no banko dol kamin ke ka kutubo sa fe ka di dina nyaton ko. But Kabrabu to Dr. Sise Fananata, he said his own words are called some religious leaders use their pulpit to promote political agenda. These are serious accusations to people that we hold in high respect. And I see even politicians on Nimbanko, Nila Kol Bay, Dina Nyaton Kol, the political bay, because now duta kata wole mu alfalti banko kamia lonko isitano ni miomi for mobe kabul. But at this point, I don't know if this is coming from the presidency. That is kinda, what do you think?
You have been having tendron coming Dr. Yalo ni mota da fa foto dat lato fo bitum kulta da fa dum de kumola wala be nyil yalo ne sayele man sakunda mol mandra hapiri mol lafta palingo weke adu mol be complain kan mol yaji kulbita kan nyamen ama mol nyaabu kol be kolayari tata dula wala nyim banko kan santa sato bolon kono lem ban jamma fa ne ban batabe dula beltu adu mol yaade de kadiyamu say e kamin fon ka kumbil fonu mira lon kono ake mako nunto wo mo be chance de ke la sa obe mam rataka sa to nyaabe findika mo be to nyaaje ka nyaale aje ni man sakunda nyanta min kile madrake ka adun reality sa wolbe findika so mol man tre jay kam because the doko il bara nyaabe nyaamen amang you know amam mo nyaab so to nyaani mol yaade ko fu wol man diye adi famol yaalo ne sain di am kensamo udama bo banko sambanya ite lola dro yafu mole ko ha ite be 500 kilometers of roads lekela mole ya jele dantango minke ila quality man betia ikete nyamen ko do nyin spenta nyame moma long ko do min tunta je anin slow min findita you know they don't match so nim mol la bata ko do nim mol bo fola ite mol dendino la won so ni ta sida ita ba foga bidun hani mol bi da kutbo fola wonyanta katete jahil ko te tele min fo wala bidun ni de manta ka diamu ketile jay ite
mo banku jawdi
because e ka ko nyile ko men you are confusing the person with the state ya fankele ko min nunto mansolte mi alon ko ni te man sala bitu mo nyana fem fola woni inside democracy man ke kilindi man sakunda be siri bitu mole pour ka banko tamande ni be siri banko kan kulmanta tamaka nyaatu moli rights to le kafo amanke don ko mi rights to le responsibility for kafo because moli nyanta kete mut accountable ni man sakunda ni mata tamaka nyin sulola moli ya fo ko hey ni manke silote e be minke kay manya nakel so fo moli yofu mol bo fulale soko al mamul miliya lonko wala authority amanke coming ibinale ye brap ya dila but ni tabe siri ko hanim miliya lonko ni milmu al mamul ti wara ni la naybol wol be min fon fola wol nyanta kayte jayile ite bidu yete fam furde place te man nyaka damen ka futaji adu nyin sifa ni man sakunda mi alonga binabe fabe filla silola completely imanyal ka started
because kudumo ala la kumul
ngo
imam ka kutuba mingi ubta alquran wala kono ala kutuba wal quality that is different from dunia man so la kumo
kutuba fo nabe kila nyama fo inyanta min fula mole isu bi somte mi alonga nyanta relevant for their life
yeah
ni mo tara fo e bata ko min ko ite tata ibe kudol fula min manke min ni wala life la manke kilindi ite la kutubo fo ngaman na faso so ni aje nyilbe kutubo fula ibe situation ko mi alonko it warrants saying those things
yeah
you know so ita janite be sile be o almamul blame le nyata sile le fulo ye fan jube ye fan koros ngelbe mun ke kam fati na fadi almamul mi alon ko anene manke ko hani almamul fo ka si e ka kol fo mi alon ko abe na masa kunda criticize ka woto nyanta jubele be minke ka nsi min falinno bare kalo ndame arrogance frata sembo minto mi alon ko ite buka entertain for the possibility that you might be wrong ya jube ko be mo neke ka mi alon ko sa falinno bare ite be sirindo ite ko hani nyin almamul fo ha nasi kino nim banku dole fo on tel sino la fo be min fo la ngasafi e kam nyitande wala ko it's another way of saying that ndela nga democracy de la dun tesi nyim bondi no afengel ngom kanyel fo mole nyanta ka ara baro ko itaman democracy nati jam okay we voted you in itaman democracy nati jam you are a product of democracy
bari ko tele atina sabat
ate afanke wonyale ada baro man democracy nati nyim banko ka people voted for him before the voting of the election. Adam Barrow was a nobody. Nobody knew who Adam Barrow was. A year before 2016, if you stood in turntable and asked people who is Adam Barrow, what percentage of people would know?
Adam Barrow told the diaspora
exactly. So Adam Barrow did not use in democracy. Adam Barrow and democracy nati moleja. Mole karto fai ya jame bondi Adam Barrow sindi. Ite me fan sindi. So ite man democracy nati. Ite you are the product of democracy.
Ako the biggest risk. The biggest risk he took in his life was to contest against
yes.
Against Jammeh.
So even after Adam Barrow was elected in, Hanika Law to read a public statement was a difficulty for the man. I still remember very well. Kabring ya Jammeh malafika boja watu men. Nyimfawe lo kamera nyaro ka speech from read was a problem for him.
Mille risk taja wotumo.
Mille risk and military they lost their life in the process. For mil fata kono will be jat in banko kandi. Mille risk mille atina yo party londi fo yati nati je yati sinje palaso de mille risk will be banko kandi. Will be sitting no mile to kabrata be election of enket.
Yes.
Min keta amanta be ba kanam fanyitande won. Kanam fanyinande won.
Mille risk will do fatale biye bade. Dol bijang nikabi wol ni wo mantoro be nyoka
exactly
wol dolu fata su kay dahaba nyolu usenu dabo nyolu fadu kamara nyolu wol be yow bata soto janne
mil be barade be mantra parti mo ma fo bebe parti klineto dol bi je fon e mantra parti to jama bi je itata fo ida kabri nying election be kala dol mantra nyim banko kan dol fon be diaspora because be exile le fon dol ye arrest le be sirinja dol la business o tara le fo ye destroy completely le livelihood ni be mingja fenketa Adam Barrow history tambita janyamenten ama o me ba ken kanam fanyina de history la.
And just quickly on that, bring water min from election time. Now with our campaign, aji yamunda yabo, and then aji yamse. What like a sandwich no night anu? What like a protect no? Bring election obanta, Jammeh do that. Borta that. Halifa Salanyo only to young. Kabanko tamandi. Okay, not him. Yes. Halifa nyole sita jang. Utuma useno yon mambula follow. Halifa where the wole banko tamandi, not him. Ate borta that.
In fact, the face of the at the time from the face of the coalition most of the time near Mumbi Diamola back. Now and Khalifa Saleh, some of these other members will left from will state again. Yeah. So young
risk later.
Abuko, this is reminding me Kabrani ala current minister and Kabrani Wudundanionata, where Abafula Moleko, where were you? Kabra Dr. Ski say where are you?
Where are you?
Yeah. So Birumbalon say kamune for new yes I. But yeah. Of course, Dr. Ski coming be for say nunto ate nyina ra obela le say. But the fact of the matter is, in all seriousness, mbejele ka akola but niaje mulbe fotala nyin temboto fote be sile ba fula ko hani almamul milka boke on Friday wol nyanta ke tela mansakunda jayile wol manyete te criticize le nyanta sile ye fanye nka ndela mansakunda be mune keka corruption min dombe nyim banko ka ni bata min be nyim banko ka
bari
nate mo wolo wota 2026 be ko elamal.
Another point me yalan ko is important je wala nkamina je sign at the beginning of autocracy coming back again.
No. You know what he said there? Ako kabirati jamme ay jamme contest against jamme silo botati tol koteke. There's the underlying messaging there. Akaman silo koteke nimi amela ka tebe sila lare. And I was really scared. I was scared because that was akaman sila.
Yes. And I just sila lare.
Ma
because
amoya molbe amoya.
Akamon po moli bi akamol threatened le. Ningali banketen siketeng. Nyine ka follow tena ni lafta kala autocratie. Ika commence ten ne follow. Ka commence ka mol silandi follow ka mol pipindi. Ni manketen siketeng. And then next thing you do, well, you try to muzzle the press.
And that's my next question.
And ni all muzzle.
Yeah.
Then we vote ita parliament.
Yeah.
A parliament control. So loi min data loi le drone vote la. We see that recently happening again. Ni boto they control the judiciary.
Yeah.
Then security forces. Abanta they control the country. Min diate wole be kela a mutalemu a falemu a butelemu a sorong a bay. Exactly. I ain't understand ko bantale. O bantale o takela jam ko deke. I ain't understand lale. But ataya mi rabia small silent small threaten no. Ita nyi almamul control no la. Ita nyi press control no la. Ye tata ye 40 million ska di press la jam pour ye den killa. O li ak ko fo mo jam fade. Kado fana liya ko credibility tije ko deke. La credibility man ngon taje kana beti nya. Wol fana liye fonyo.
Milman Sonkata ya start kawol preso. Because still now preso be nyilkande including voice newspaper nyol.
Yes.
This is where I was going to come.
Yes. Okay, anyway, what about we'll come back.
And you know, for me I want to speak to Adam Barrow directly.
Yeah.
Because you know, kavingela diamol moy obviously nga modol de ko nimi mi amiro ko imantaraje oto kana di fonante I believe he was talking about me and some other people.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, as a media, our role is not to praising government.
Yes.
I want government to understand tola role money, to hold you accountable, and to inform the citizenry about Mimbekere in Bangkok. You don't dictate to us what our headline is. When we look at what happened, but determine la wale to Mimbekere tola headline. Now, not these kind of talks that will change our policies. Our editorial policies will not be changed, and these threats will not move us. Now, Mr. President, we are not your enemy, but our role is to hold you accountable. You know, it's very disheartening to hear the president say, the president does not have more stake than me as a Gambian.
Exactly.
He is more as Gambian as I am. And he doesn't have more stakes. I have all my kutol baby in Bankoleka. Ntemo alkal dingolti. Ntemo alkalol. So moment stakes don't take in Bangkok. So I am not, and I will not be engaged in anything. Police station because that's how scared I am for all of these things. Normally like crazy because mukalafi ka lua tinya. Because I know that is my role as a citizen. But it's just disheartening every time the number one citizen can jube kafu moleko lafta nyimbanko malale. And one thing I want the president to know. The presidency have a PR office. The presidency, office of the director of press, government spokesperson, how many staff levity, minister of information, all of these government agencies here, PR units lesoto. Ntola doko manke kala doko tandi. Manke ntola doko. Yala doko wala doko munet. Ale mimbe doko yenan tol no makanene purko opintindi. That is not our role, and we will never do it. Ntolbe minkela albe mi mabo kambole fintinde. Now, it is not these kind of talks that will make us scared because we are just doing our role.
Yeah.
Now, Ismail is telling us he's going to regulate. We are waiting. Don't Ismail about Flab to regulate. Let Ismail go and content, Gambian content. I ask some monetize.
Yeah.
I want to give you free advice. If you are able to monetize Gambian content, you will shy away from unemployment rates. Gambian will mean baby online. From TikTok to YouTube on Facebook, they will start making thousands of dollars
a month.
That is the secret member social media. Ta Kenya, ta Senegal, ntenga molo mini alonko, ibe bankol kan, dini wol mi alonko. Fed they're 25, they're making thousands of dollars every month from YouTube, TikTok, and social media. You know why? Because their governments went and worked so hard to monetize their content.
Yeah.
If you want unemployment rate Pride Gambian content monetize, and then Gambian youths can be able to employ themselves through these social media. But trying to control it, you cannot. That is the fact. You cannot do it. Ite mantala Mark Zuckerberg ya fa ko kana fatu to I live stream on Facebook and YouTube. You don't have those powers. You cannot muzzle us, and we will not accept it. Now, the better thing you could do is control what your PR more than for. You have all these people, they are paying taxpayers' government money, and you want us to do your bidding for you. We will not do it. That is not our role. I guess the other people that you wanted help to put call Tintindi, I don't know what happened.
They didn't deliver.
But we will not be intimidated. That's the fact.
Million 40 million.
Yeah.
He man deliver no. Iman deliver no munat ne man deliver because fennet is min for no more is min deliver. Okay? Ite fen for no mi yalan ka tije.
Yeah.
So wol yalla ko nin content ni fo la respect dum mo le asoto ni be fola wala wana woli ye fojo. Okay? Because mo la ko ye wolu dukule pour ye diamoy. Okay? So ata fo ko nga kare dukule nga ministre nga NP dukule bi yani kabi. So ñu duko 40 million minna mol yalla ko yewle di wala so mol ne fofu mol fofu bi mol ka lala ko te ka fakatu ye dukule so fana ko mbar batu ngam fam muta jannen tobe tinyala to tinyala fako bar yan to do man to jew be kana tinya bari bi itul nyanta mun jube la mun ya tinna gambia nolu kan criticize them back mi yo sabu wala corruption me nyim banko kan mi yo sabu wala tinyaro be nyim banko kan tilmale be nyim banko kan fatu ni wulta bi tata marsiro na musudo nene jallo dukure jallo tata marsiro in soma anin camera kaysan di pour que tabiroke $500 man konton tabi noy
No.
and this was in soma so imagine jang exactly $500 is a day karo wulitani lulati du wolum wulit dalas keme lul karo kono mo wulitani lulati man ko wulitani lul josoto jemba ko kanja adamu do yat imera dimbayal sambano imon borol sanno imon karam bolu jono imon do boro sambano dimbali imon moli be luwolu ne molbe o kono so ito fola wole wolonne so kala fu mole ko banko be taku kan kata ku yumalle so wole be kere o kola nyaabale be banko be tinyale ben fengol be wafila ben fengol be talaka di min iteru ma nyol mol nyaabe o kanne wala na mol kadiyam so ka fo ka mol pipi dire ke silan to mo silan la nyim banko kan baro man demokrasi sama na nyim banko kan demokrasi le baro sambanan demokrasi le baro sambanan mol la kelo wole baro sambanan so atete nyim falen nola amma fendi mo la nyim banko kan mi ko gamberi ma kele anda nyanta mi lona wolen ko miliya wil ka nyori bi ka yori ko kono wole ya jamme nyori wokono fo ya jamme fatara si banta bi exactly wole makisal ofson le makisal nyori fo bi makisal hayna sire morocco akana fambula nambaro kono abadi wol na terol ya fa ko nyul ke nyori nambaro le kono ya fo nyami mo ma kon bare na banko nga wole kanu anto sila yenna banko tinya nte jo yala mo yimba ko kan koteke mo ta julo bulan kan wala koteke mo ta karfe bulan nuwala ndala wala julo bulan nuwala ta kala koteke anyanta wala londa nga wala safam da handi anyanta ni dokul aya doku nyimba ko kan be nga ta nyaato ka wala nyinin jo ya julo ga okuntule o ta murla nan koteke so baro nyanta jere lon
nin polo min kanyim be naati ni mo sita ni impresse ya siranka ite ko bitu ntale nyinti a wato te banna ne aje nyin kol fo diamo fo be ka fu nyin temboto ayalu de ni ko num mol be lafta num benen momo sita jang ye tu tams kije yaba nyin diamo be te fenkel bari nyin sante nyi hakilobe min kan nyin man sakunda ka siye nyin man hani anoda tam ya de nyin nata nyin sila ndela nga nyi nin tel sita janga nyabi fo nyi anoda tam ke nyin betam dole lafula akan aya kafu akan nyin lafta min naja si nyin man sakunda for as long as he wants. So abe nyamente ni tebe nyin nyimbe min fo kanje ni aje mol be nyin ko fola ni te mantras imira kande ko min ka si jang in perpetuity nyin man sakunda la behavior be nyamente indi amol fo to futalaje Nil hakilol mantra time limit mol ngolo nesa because of what happened to the constitution nying. Uma more surprising. But the whole ni si telefon ye mi jele kalon fon coming nyimil be badal.
Yeah.
Ismail Cissé melan ko bi nadia re nyim bo sama nere e nyimfo Sidi Njanyol Milialon ko they were ready for this country to burn down to the ground just so their master at the time could actually survive. Yeah. It be well advice ta can be. Inyante imira la bitu kunung wolbe min jayika bi wolbe mun. Yeah. Mansal mi yalon ko ilaftale pour ye fantam bindi nyanta danda dame ye fantam bindi wala wol akana la ba nyame it's not very pretty, so ikana nyine fande tra sirinjang yetra sirinje ya mera pitun ko ala yin sina wada dayte damale banko warta wele pour mo klindro ya mara fa diate te wato ben so
and o time limit never important aka impunity le bay
exactly.
Because impunity wala yesi ko data yake solla bare wala mu tustana tela muti tuskela ka to yibe damin je ite president woni bije drong ite tatu lato so impunity be banna nyami wala na time limit soto
Exactly.
sanji lulu yeta wala nasiyara sanji tang
Barakana tan
ya lon ko ni tata o sanji tang moli min ni do ko ya lon ko ni ye kodi ye min ke jamba audit la
exactly. Ibine ko
o forensic audit ba tan le min ke jang ni kuru yala ke abe fintilale mbine normal wala tin nafara na constitution no ngam ko 2020 ko ni bina nan ya fanya ni jelle kana ni bita ya fanya ni jelle kata isaje tin na fintinyala ni wo keta tilobe soto lañ banko kanne bar ni yalon ko president bi je ñi manta be sañi buankal sañi transfer kala jan min data be wala kala isaje wuté sije rom butale banko tinyala drom mo dan tayta balu beto kono ñin to mabbe ko le yakon wala te keno la ko teke so lat na ñin 2026 election olu fonga ñim bondi kat ni nga ñin sindi tan ko teke Ousmane Kamé fo sanji tan lu lo ma ñin si mo ma si ya sel jel fo lu men ay
kama la fi akata la fatu tam damal
for ko dum 3 years
but ñile the second time
I thought he's a fan of two time limit there.
but
3 years le fo ko dum ama ko dum 3 years no ja
yalo nga start wala sanji saba nara saying so two times o masi saying tan saba njang abe wala ñenenka because the next time would be the third time four time flow mil kana four manka yeah what I mean for ya wala fen koti ni aje ñing diamo fon be siala ñil bes len ni min na sama ni bota jam kis roketa molbe min jela because corruption o min beke ka ñim banko ka ni sita jam i famole ya ibe slandi wole malafle wolungo ena mi yalon ko molbe kis rokela ka lon fan corruption o min kele because corruption o min beke ka ñam mole ya mira min beke ka ñam min fam beke ka wala tambita wote wala tambita wote
Yeah. So, but president of Fana, I mean Fana for Fana to Wolonko. Ako mano data lata le min banko ka ni sukuro. Ndo de kabra for hanin ko ngamol ni nga gambe no le post ni nga.
Sa de wala wote.
No te post ke ko gambe no le because mi nga fono nga sa fe iba mero ko strength reatal ka di bom. So I just did a post and asked Gambian to tell me in Sunkaro kono. President Baroko mani boto talata le kabo 2007 2006 to 2400 ako sukuro ako mano talata le 4007 2900 ngani nen karo in among all the comments over almost 400 plus comments mo kilinti jemi mano sang wo price and sukuro and after that ntenga sukuro sang because obviously sunkaro kono mbeka sukuro
of course
sunkaro ntenga sang 1675 2675
exactly
ngomano sang 2225 I do know Yona Enterprise they sell the cheapest rice in this country wholesale ikawa fi 1950 la retail ikawa fi $2050 so nobody is selling rice below $2000 honey jar oil masakunda negotiation o minke companies will be kabila manona if a retail price was $1,950 but wholesale was $2,000 or so. Now it makes me think, where does these numbers come from? Because in shop the minka mano wa $1,700 Maybe the 25 kilo, I don't know. But the 50 kilo rice,
because
have you seen it anywhere?
mama sut anywhere bare milka kumol fate wala ka saddo kumo foye ataka saw wala fe look nyim banko kan mbenga ko barobi kata marseur barobi ka fenke ala fewon yam wala gambeno le kasanka di ala tama marseur kala wala ne ko jabo ka sam $400 wala ne ko mano ko 1700 1900 ilbika yuma be kering gambeno la kodo min ka dilan ka balu wala to balu nya sahare wala kono ilmalu be kering nyim banko kan so min diate bi ka wala fay ata dum bi ka si ka wujube andu ka hanyela ka kuma fay man ka toñati ata nyanta bala na nyina wato wati kuma foy ni ya foy ye finti mo ya foy ko min fo man soto ila mo le don ko foy kay tumi ka ta marsew
Exactly.
so ikana hanyira foy ka kuma foy mi yango toñati je ibe kuma feyande lay be fala malola dunya kono wala nyanta badna fatu nyim banko kan momo yalon ko ika dala so bondi le ka fengo sang yalo kan it kam min fo ayita kam min je luwolum i mankile ñin sunkaro ko mole bata min kijang gambe degul be wolon andu nimin selta baga mi jabi ka ji so mano nyim banko kan ni ya jube next Senegal jang Senegal file mano lu jindi e tulul jindi farñol jindi fengol be jindi.
Are we not going to the same world market? Because Dr. Gajigo, Senegal, Sunkaro Kono, I saw it from Aziz is the biggest importer of rice in Senegal. He came out Manu Jita Baleke, and he's going to go down even further. Because because government like a negotiation but there was a middleman. Minka na te adito so kana through government so government can move the share it. Ako watu prate 100 pounds to 75,000 faka du crore from the costo. Ako asita this time somebody called him from the Ministry of Trade. Kaigo, we know quite the biggest importer. Nana, we have 3,000 tons for you. Ako among any negotiation kasita draw ya call among modu ako ayaro ko change nata so government went direct to the source and said we don't want more literal nothing and that automatically I price ojin Senegal sunkaro kono mano data tulo talata jabo talata pompitero wonte ko do ku yale farño talata sunkaro kono munatin na woman kenon tolla jang munatin
well comme ñi yafo ñamen ni mo president wati yete man ko kala muta ari ita ray mo mil katandi dala fana ida e ma londo soto o wala interest je wol min diate be wala fole ita ta lo na min be kirin duniya kono adu ite sino la fana ye police ke min sin kudol possible as ko so andino ndel be da men jan science instead of investment in agriculture pour ngoke banko kanjang mola mola start to produce rice because mano as do kuno yeah but still now it can mean ke amanke don coming you just facilitate imports but more mil fanga ya lonko they are trying to import items ka kol so nandi jang e kam mil lafta ka dunje ka kol invest e ka dol bondi business o kono ite mo danta mi ya lonko ite they are connected to you ika wol da male tuje ka sembodi wol aketa cement tole and hane nyim fenko fo nyim forest fenko de kamin di nyilla te fana wo fango they even started playing politics with that mil fanka so versus mil buka so so Gambia na la inflation be nyamente na currency be depreciate kan hanatra mano da jita outside Gambia yang atade jino wala hanatra fengo da manji Gambia dollar mo jolleti last year biya jube is about 71-72 hana tra fengo damanji outside dan kon ka import na because ntella dala sibi jika ne wato washi ala price be absella jan so nyilman hane police le fengo soto ka mol ma ko nti fengo mil doku no jang ka investment o ki jam pour ngo doku so ntella dala sibi jika ne drong na nga fengo mil import e canal baro ko la fana buka sile fonka jube mol si cool import mol si banku si policy landing wo nyaari la ko cool so nande hana ta be import ka nsa kero nyaari le pour nkana ke drone pour nga businessman killing pula ma ko mil mo ateri malte bar nga cool ke ka banku ka su ko cool so nande banko ka jang wala bukake nin o be kala hana be kala agricultural carol atake mira minna fulo wolem sinna supporters do ma ko no nyaadi
min ka pati
exactly min ka pati ma ko milka bata pati nimbe importation o kala instead of nsimune keno pour ka banko be ma ko no so bitu nsi nanyin terima do na manke jaolti abubakar jawarleti or some other businessman me yalon ko they are connected to him wallati la first priority not the priority of helping the country wallati na cool jam pour ay suno ya jabe koleala because number one ita be sirinda e molka story for min fo e malo so yena si banko nyatin wole ko price obe jikan wata man abe seleka you know so ite mo kala mo ni man ko understand min be kerem banko ka ite se police ke no nyaadle ka ko suno ndi mo ita ke no la
dans la depreciation au fond be fol ko le tonyala Ousmane Gafa nyami because the mechanical effect of that depreciation da ba fo be selal bari masa kuna si fere dol kenol mi yalla asi jino yalon serum $4 billion yewle di tax waiver et la french nyol ni tax $4 billion tax waiver di milka manu import na milka because momala ya di jumale ni ya di man import la le anin tulol man obe jila le non because tax ni tax bondi woto dal be jila le o se kenol import substitution mi yalan ko enen ko dota ngata fe ngata mano sambanta no hota nga dundi jang na mano do ku jang na mano produce jang nsim fan dañi no le fo nga to wa fi banta
of course
because bi kam ne fo we want food self sufficiency wala mano sija bari hani mal fo wala ko tege we want food sovereignty food sovereignty mi yalan ko fo le ben mano do ku la jang amanci ko enough to import pour nana kasama ay simisi molusi wala sufficiency man la fi wala la fa sovereignty la fa nga do ku jang ay molusu si jang to nga wa fi banta ni o ke ko do meta kata mano sam banta every year over $200 million nga taw meta kata mano sam banta o to la jena nga invest agriculture ba we invest in other sectors nga juwe fo falo
but then you know the president's priority is not that. The president said in that same address to the elders ako covering African Development Bank la president onata akay Mr. President munetela priority akay my number 1 priority infrastructure, number 2 infrastructure, number 3 infrastructure kana jelen president Morocco ala priority be infrastructure
na temere infrastructure
number 3
infrastructure
ako because but I kudo ko je fanan I think is right ako ite ko kanyum ko mol bimbefo ite tamo no infrastructure ko ka mi silo man soto fengo ben so andu Ramro fana
because temere infrastructure musilo de
hala ko
infrastructure kana da silo lam
ademal infrastructure tambita silo fa tambe but already okay ni ko wala mu la number 1 priority
and then for 3
but ajube follow so ite tata ila mole ila minister tata woning company agreement okay min ko wala ni bari ni bridge tata fa lota sai silo si siano ni North Bank I siaje fa tambi I sia South Bank but ni silo man connect nyon o silo la nafa abe fenkele ba ba ite la man sakunda ite ma kalamra ko le minister fa otata ay agreement no sign ka nyitande ko coming hani modo lafta hani sama se mobe gambe bulu pour ka bridge do ka fuja kere warning kiantema ate kenola because agreement no ni mean signed with Africa 50 we bale
kawren da ko
minister so jane nga fay ko nga intol ngol ja ko manso
ngo abe agreement no 100 member safari 100 kilometer diameter that is kabo kere
a radius of 50
because the radius in each side
so that's 50 on either side
so 100 kabo kere wanda
dia fa ngai jenje mbure birijo ni lafta lola binda keno la because ale contrago misana
kana fi nyambure de Kaur was a major center
and Kaur is within that limit
so Kaur ni ndam kunku temaje si bridge keno je ita keno je kerewa ita keno je kiyan ni ko de bute ko fi nyami
would be
and mun be kero ning aya taranga na good development policy so infrastructure development mi manda silo da ma na ke riverine wala river line ni ko di river line transport ni river and transport kenoji ni alon ko ni tewol nata kudum la ni tewol nata fo banjo ya jindije ye no do so dum batala banjo ka samba kawur fo kawur fo in fact ka sabi farafenye kawur tawur fo basi mini alon ko bodan sin salu ye drive port ke kawur sinana ya shonta ya samba kawur ya jindi kawur o kongel ni do mi ba fawle o stade o leta yela so ji ya samba e do tamba ya samba kun tawur mil fana the upper part of sin salu sinana ya tananje e do samba basse malin kol ni Senegal oriental sinana ya taje ya samba okay ni woke you change everything bari itul mawol belo ni infrastructure development toto itul amira silo da malem infrastructure an ding tul make bi Senegal ba kelal sama ni Senegal yake ni Senegal dra poto lol beto malen kol men kanana jang yes they're going to do it in Senegal in Sin Salum and in Senegal Oriental ni yake jin rapport fatal
but then number one priority is infrastructure but still until livelihood because still on book like the first thought that came to my head is I want to and I want them to have good education and I want to have a good healthcare system. These are all priorities government silo beteata infrastructure generally is good. It's a foundation for everything. But if infrastructure is one, I'm thinking Nabalu agriculture or there should be number 2 and healthcare number 3 and education. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I mean, of course, I mean, yeah, for wrong. Silo infrastructure will foundation of the Purusama. Bari nim baloti je bi ibe min domola ni fota la bi hani sama fo ngote mirano la soko jari you know so obviously gambe be situation o minto nyimbi na waro mena president yala mani boto mu jolleti bi yola price jubi sukur boto mu jolleti yola price jubi bi nyew ka so ni tata 500 num nim moy 500 tay fota tanjela marso to ismin soto no nyewto bi 500 ni ya samba je ni nyew di lef ci jutu wala fa nyol bo ka soto na badal you know molka seno kele samaita fae bang dolbe sirim bi hani bi ye tiyo min samba masakunda ila joe ma soto you know domoro da kolear yes seno ke fa seno fa man na pasoto ni la tiyo sene ya samba sekoto inata kodo insisile ibe ko robatun wara ye jo in a way mi alon ko ni tare kodo nyim boy bu kasoto no e ko you have to be paid through kiw money modol bije nga badi ndol so mil bota fo nyamene ko katela jolle nyini fara fenyi itare be yala fara fenyi man tilfule bije mi la josoto inena man kiw money use you know what's the no baby je of course more kana infrastructure important because infrastructure wo ika investment or pour ça bari janni be sile be mira la samay fen economy nyanda fen soto la be tilo min to gambe bi korda jama bije to have ila 3 meals a day for cause no problem world so nita ba fokan number 1 is infrastructure, number 2 is infrastructure, number 3 is infrastructure. Of course sometimes hyperbole nying wo is fine, but I mean nita ndi nyina komi nying tonya bije ate sitele dole ya dundia kungono komi silo niyo ke drong la problem dol be ka solve le but ni mang problem dol solve janing ibe kolbe nda silo wo kola fana ite fan kanyin silo fon da nyame fon
exactly
da kule
the standard
number quality man soto number 3 ite ka min spend per kilometer mol ka quality min soto je banku dol to ite ko haru talent wala fon soto ja you know silo jani bada dal e plan de ka taraji ni silo tara le nying battle harding highway at beginning afa be construct plano man taraji because nim plano bije ite dala fo silo lo fay pare ibe dulal kuntun na ibe roundabout so kelaji ni roundabout in bijilu mundu mala keta kabiri silo pareta wato watile after thought because inataje wato min na komi ma plan ku ni silo bebe wonyale amam plan ne so jannabe commencer la so ita ko min wala priority fa imantra ke anyama you know ibe loan sol tala the Minister of Finance kunun ka be West Coast ka for ha it will be silo ke ka nyame is very different from nuntu aka ke nyame coming ha it will bokata development partner e ka finance le by budget but by budget you are taking a loan from another from Islamic Development Bank, wo loan kata adi nyanto loan jolale. What is the difference? How is that different from the loans how they are constructed?
And
wo pasamasi Lamin koto roads mila la kafu le time ta wole la quality better that itele slow mil dada. Ta sabak sanjal yo slow mil dada now aerial to. Of course, o slow la dada jaya mol na fale because there no slow be kala kolbe kola yari gel. But a slow la quality anin sila dol keta nyami manki clean. Momo furta o slow ka yalo ne o slow. Sanje clean dela do be fala pothole
exactly.
I mean, because I want, you want to come there?
Yes, I want to come there quickly because I come in for ila yin tinyaro kata ka justify.
Yeah.
Nkasilo ha to ka dara budget lela. What is the most unreasonable economic thinking you can have? Silo pour ka silo doku. Silo mo investment mi an ka be ko do dinang.
Yeah.
These are liabilities. Nima use ku. So ni yo doku la. Ikata concessionary loans le nyini pour ya doku la. Mi an ko loans mi an ko lankango be ka sia. And this are jamba. But ni to ka mo ne ke bi. Ikata loans ta commercial loans later. 15, 16, 18% interest paid over 5 years. So it will become even more expensive.
Yeah.
Nitara development partners African Development Bank, European Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, etc. Coming there concessionary rates very low interest rate. And we have a grant component. Ibiko jofang. Ike so wala. Ika silo doku wala infrastructure development kake wala. When you julo ta commercial bank, lankam ba katango bije.
Yeah.
Ofo da ma yela ye fale.
Yeah.
So mo bika julo ta commercial fonkolto in Africa on the developed world, kana infrastructure development. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
And we will prepare can just sign thing for the Afrexim Bank currency swap. Il faut faire koteke because julo tano koteke ful tala NRA tola pour kana silo do kujang. It doesn't make any sense at all.
So, I'll come to that because we have to look at all of that. But first, before that, I want the Voice newspaper issue.
Okay.
I want us to look at that before we go because it's concerning. In 2021, Kabirin survey na, iko Sepras la survey, iko NPP President Barrow is going to win. La survey also. Ntola headline exactly. Nko Kerr Fatou. Survey reveals NPP will win the 2021 election. I still have that. Don't worry. NPP had our story. Remember, it's one of our most read stories. That was our headline. Now, another newspaper, the story survey reveals corruption, the presidency and the National Assembly. Same headline,
yes.
Different newspapers, but you score the one who said corruption. Now, my thing is, this is what upsets me. And I pray, at some point, I'm tired. But I was so upset the fact that Ismaila Sise Katasi radio, even though we had it called Ismaila Yunukumandila, at some point, we have to call it what it is.
Yes.
Mahmoud, thank you, I told you, Sheriff. If a Minke and Sheriff is so unfair. Because the fact that Sheriff is non-Gambian, among non-Gambian, at some point he's going to get scared. And nala muso nala dimbaya nala femo bebe nyimbankolka. Abama, everything be nyimbankolka. Now, natra watu watika nyisifakel. Abe similarly, at some point, because yalo mo, ila dimbaya, niwola ko mata dro, at some point you get tired. And this is the plan. And that is very scary. And I was telling a colleague of mine, I said, look, we have to speak up about this.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is, ntolo ni akiran sitasi Lamin Manneh ngatasi ngana jangkata ngodomoje. But Sheriff ni abunda dimbaya koto jang. Ikaye kwa murum. Hana mune soto ala sateto. But because anala dimbaya le bijang, abela fele ka kodo fele just call please because he doesn't want to lose his family. Sheriff mambankudo mombijan sanyi jelu. And this is the tactics they're playing on him.
I mean, normal Kabirin.
This is all unfair. Let's call it what it is.
The first time I wrote a couple of articles kanjita ni mall. Ning Kabirin ya first of all, one simple story just careful wrong coming Barrow Bajube Kandeka Mohammed Jakal candidate. What is wrong with that? They came a criminal case yele.
Yeah.
A civil case yele. So for several days, Luolung abite dankuna police station.
Kumandi la ministry, Ismaila ya kumandi. sinya jelu ka kuma ndika fay ko ni ma apologize ni ma nyinka benyina ka
exactly about intimidate can but it just tells you for the sort of people they have in this government most family if Ismaila Cisse nyol wolle bita ibe wolle use cancer ite momi yalon ko kunun ibe sirin for wol fobe min foka wala fo tambita nyin nena man nyin ko kul report damma but wol be sirin ibita wol yesterday be min foka because the interest kunun wo mun pour que criticize bi bari ye fendo ta ya dila ye moto ndin dila nim ko den during campaign e borinte then after that ye position o dila now atela do ko munde kake government mouthpiece ti sa wala bitaka kata mul intimidate ha yes gole bitaka I'm so abe fintla banko kan ka fu mole ko coming atema nyinke but that's the fact atele bitaka be intimidation okay
we know everything
yes
yalla nyimbanko yalla mami understand nyimbanko every department equal ke molka
lon atuma bete nuku nola abete nuku nola abete na
police all call police sheriff invite ka bring story in bota about that Mohammed Ja we know who called the police
exactly
we know all of them ikasidi nyai mon police all black we know the minister that called so this is all tactics they need to stop sheriff is here to do his job
and he's doing his job
ala muso Gambian he's married for over 25 years abama bijanga dingol baby jang ala business will be done, ala livelihood be a building. But every day, and the other community, ila plan moment. Ni mansakunda kuma fa ikan kabir watu na baroko Kerr Fatou ma tolom nyinti. Ikaje business okay fama jampandila.
Yes.
They don't come to you, they don't give you business because president Omar Lafila. This is a calculated move ikaminke mola.
Yes.
Puro ka business all jampandila kesi landila puro ni batata. I struggle ta ifanansa but this is the plan. And this is what they're doing to this gentleman. And it's so unfair.
With the owner of the Standard.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. So many are surprised because many people jam bara.
Yeah.
O tactic only can be. Okay? Look, ning ya jeko even publicity me ya lonko and spread like across the board. Mama Masakunda support it publicity from the government institutions. Signed even the private sector, publicity care, it could be discouraged. Purkatika Silali. Hanin Tolu Faulu, it Terimanol Dolvije, look at Borilla demanding, because he could Tonya for Molcasilla. Dolby Witalia Katimal for Prolamoser. Sako business will be Yalonko. Ila survival is very precarious. So ninga ulaji kumasakunda ka kari kelele, so we'll see ibore jamfela. Milse advertisement ke Kerr Fatou bi. Dolbe borlale. Katima hani. Ikaka wole kamba. Ka wolu bayi molu bala. Fusi le business so fani. Yalo ni anata ya soron wolu dia mosisia. But yes, stifle
Let me borrow the chief of staff award. Kabrabe text killer managing director about Kerr Fatou. Ako, the lion that seeks to bring the Barrow government down. That's what you're aiding. I still have the text. The lion that seeks to bring the Barrow government.
There you go. So
that's what you look at me at.
Yeah.
I'm scared. But I'm not scared to do
a
my
Gambian
job.
taxpayer.
Yeah.
Employing Gambians to work in Kerr Fatou.
Yeah.
Ikoyo business otinya kusama de kilo lali.
Yeah. And you still
Gambians you
expect me to pray your sins.
Anyanta nyine lonna Gambian ko nyimma sakunda solwe mbulu bi. Nyanta nyimma sakunda le falina. Kerr Fatou ja mujele do ko wala jang. Mujele ka balu Kerr Fatou la. Mujele ka kuma soto Gambia kuma ko soto Gambia because mal la fimina wala kuriya be kirim pura ka min fol ke diming.
Yeah.
Ni wo mal long kuriya ko sulo du nale.
Yeah.
So pour ka sulo kuntu. Fonga people like Kerr Fatou soto nga voice ñol soto nga dula soto milia lonko
all these newspapers
po modu ñol jana fonga lu soto milia Gambia dingoli
we need plurality
imal la fi wala
and the sheriff is here to stay and we will continue to support him and I think
we must
speak about this.
Yes.
Kaminkala is so unfair. It is wrong. He's doing his job.
Adu nyin sirif meta nyin monya da fanka nyin mala journalist ya start kunu amanke barola bas da nyin tarala newspaper bidia taring jamela time nyin voice newspaper bidia nyin jamenyol ka batandile nu e ka detain nu e ka call for questioning at NIA o Martin na nyala do ko bula abakan so janning baro fa binda nyin bala independent yala as an independent politician. I remember reading this guy in 2013 2014 you know nyimbala nyin jambela mansaya nyimansila journalist yala soko sai jamme ma nyin soro wato menna ma nyin disturb jamme ma minke nyi nete mina wala ke kanye
Voice newspaper is here to stay and we will give him all the support. I mean, we are all here to stay. Kerr Fatou Lombang, Warsaw Gambia, all the other newspapers, everybody is doing their job. Just understand that our role is not to do PR for you. That is why you have the office of the director of press, you have government spokesperson, you have the minister of information.
A whole ministry of information, just being a griot.
And every ministry has a information officer. Is paid by taxpayer.
Yes.
Whole baby, I think government spokesperson, minister of information, I think PR office of the office of press. That is not possible. We cannot do it. That's not all right.
Because all come in for, and then all come in, all killing. So a man credibility sort of koteke. Moji like a GRTS you bring back can be. I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
But you know what I
Moji like a milu duku, Moji like a lama wala bia. I don't know yet.
Yeah, and they will come in. I do now when a candidate or Mambo Kerpa.
Yes.
Not all control political platform. We never produce a candidate.
Yeah.
Evidences are here.
Look,
where candidates are from.
And at any rate, you are Gambian.
Yeah.
You are entitled to a political opinion.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a political. That shouldn't be a crime.
Because we also vote.
Exactly. Now I transform this platform and other places. Mimbe carry mantra foka. Ile diamu ni reality fatata. Unko jumal be lamwela. Exactly. Mol ba stop le ke lamwela. Ni aje hani bi. Mol bi dal platform to ale fe open publish mol ke lamwela mol ka jube. Mol ya lon ne mimbe caring and ka fo. You know there's a consistency in one platform but government mouthpieces nyol ni will be diamu will be mim foka ni mimbe caring man ke kilin.
The problem is it don't come for control buka opposition or don't. But me ko itole na persona na. We have a show to produce.
Because
one time I remember ninte kumandile wo time o better de Ibrahim Sila was information minister. Yem kumandi kansa makota de ko nteka to opposition ole na sai nga pali ndo ye ni to lan ko nana. The first program minister nani nat. Na program okay the following week do not. Abota auto man na ko de. Na man na sit down but every week I have to produce a show.
Because these are the platform dolto. Because you can question the main collector. So, bin dia tibe ko fu mote challenge la. Ibrahim Sila basire nun janne. Ala kunta ya kumo fna info ya challenge. So, ibiga la fi wala. Ibrahim Sila sita janne. Ka fu ko ha to yala $150 million spend battle harding why banku ndambe o manke to nyati.
So ya later silo iko silo. I silo Ibrahim e di bonkla ko. Ako silo yes price me for nying battle hiding way for 1 kilometers. Ako in fact won't cheap that. He sent me prices. Ako itaka silo ni reference. Wo sandi turning for comment. So you know that's what he said. The price of road.
Ibrahim maro imbe carrying industry famato. Amon tous lonje. Aka silo min deta ya fo. Ni min fay aya fo technical tam dan tan tom bondrong nata ay officiel fo mo de camera ka mol ne wol. Ibrahim mu nek road construction ta ni tous. So ko dama fay na saw ngay si. Am sirnya wolo ngama ka fuko ha la samane men fo long ako tika highway ite tika highway ni batil harim compare. Tika highway is 8 lanes, 4 on either side. Certain places 12 lanes. Blood is 12 lanes. You have tunnels over 1 kilometer long. You have flyovers. It's a control. You can find a Tika super highway. And it's 50 kilometers. ADB now finance le China came in, China Exim Bank, and then Kenyan government. But me Tika expensive fund demanding. Tika was running through Nairobi and all the way to Tika, two cities. So if you do an 8-lane road, in some places 12 lanes, expropriation is huge. Imujimale wulindi, kaulujo. We take a price, even if that Tika is cheaper than Alayin Highway. That's about all long. So you can see the point that is 6 lane.
Yeah.
I can't say how many 4 lane. Come on. Silo mi anko ma design man to see briba akwa sotemba foke. Tika do be is gravel ning basalt ning wala bije at lañu silo fentije
Yeah.
abem buru wolati biri ba lolu nga be ayele buru mi juruma no airport junction ot feko kon dingol ye wala janjanje tustije the substructure and then the base, they are all poorly done. Give this road a few years, you'll see the road start sagging. That's like a G. I come for two course like a pour surfacing.
Yeah.
Of my parakela no. The Saudis insisted for okay. And if honey okay, it doesn't matter. Ni sub base ni base on better ya. Ni silo sakta baby tinja baby tailor. Ibrahim wala long. Wala ya lo ka taw mo wala. Jibe kamil silo ni doku science sa to kono fana.
Yeah.
The same thing lam. Ikana le buro jurmaje e jobo nje ya denku ye mano wayaka.
Ngo de la sabasa fo mol bukana le no fo ka mano nyi eka basalt nyi ko.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Okay, not bank for
So not only the roads are substandard, but they're highly overpriced.
Yeah.
So I come in for the Syrian job for Kangaji and Confay. Minka Jacali, is a sea and actually mola, it on Yakano Foy. I became a Silla.
So near our baro fane baro mi of a longer quarter, allowing mol ni natania fire at a fire kalawal. So wala da nata be searing. Ni nala nyi minister mi alon ko e mela do ko lo e man fello e la do ko to ni di story fati na ate belief wala bidu ate sirim bidu ate bidu nyile be keren ko na price wol jita na silol be beteyaring 500 kilometers mbasot la ni na television no mala bidu kay ko Dr. Manneh nyile fo Dr. Gajigo nyile fo warang almami kare nyile fo kamfa dungala ate ma alon ate la molbe min fo kay ani min be keren dunya ko
anda janta wala juwela ko le ka tinya wala ba ko tinya kan because $150 million is going to be about 122 kilometers.
Yeah.
Not only that, get another $54 million to correct Iminkeku.
Apart from the 150?
Yes, they signed another $54 million.
Okay. You mean sign with Islamic Development Bank in December? Yeah. What for your sign what room in the phone? What?
So it will go from $6.8 million per kilometer.
Oh my God.
To about $9.4 million per kilometer for this highway. And
we're still going to pay for that.
That's the point. These are loans being combajola. Make a grantee. Mbajolale. And when you start the repairs, 50-kilometer network, I mean, the secondary roads for this OIC road. The Betinyat, I mean, do good. I was in Brufut a few months ago, more company coming, Brufut Silo Yada is very tight, very narrow in some areas. And you could go to Lekeje or go to the phone.
But that is one of the roads, but
among go to the phone clean phone. Go to the BJ, Babarol Nimbero, BJ, yeah, BJ will come. So you next one will be even worse.
Exactly. Because sign you got a solo parity sign. Sign you sign have a borla wall corner sign. Now you be
you got a surrounding Biba surround Tata Nyabala. Berol BJ, Babarol BJ, fire and Gotakono. Ima clean cow bondi found. Ya biti will lefe. So ni jona jiti tabla. Pour next summer in Samanala, be flood la kotek.
Jambanjel kol nyinen ka kabri yo silo dada wala la bandiro in jambanjeli silo nyin nyanta complete la nyamen the last part e tulungo kiji o man na complete the first finish is kabra nata ko ramil be jambanjel silo ka nyinin kay batak ibata nyame wala bina ko rajama mutala jam.
Yes, and honey drainage found drainage to nowhere.
Exactly.
Need drainage ke
you got to fabe fin la dame
so for so prepare but tabla to jiola honey go take jam tole you battle hiring Silomi draining back, draining at Jakatamintole. Tablat ye. Now, conference center Mafanajan, will you call Varsky, so we have a dumpla balacon. So another pollution is going to start there. Give no food, without balacon, no treatment, nothing. Then you don't back on Italy, treat follow. But so they're going to pollute the sea, and it's going to affect our tourist industry.
Of course. Me and the Voja, it was so a loan from Islamic Development Bank covering last year. Some of them, Binam, some link, and Pelem April the Kono Scienti. Do call you Kumasa Mundol.
Nowhere.
In same code, in Slovenia and Dakada.
How come on
mundo
ñin dool fi la ñin ko lolu kër sëriñ ma fa ci loolu commencé 2 years imam banno
no ko tan ding highway fo ala ñi
ani jandi mo bala famille min commencé follow yo futandi follow
okay
dool bi jera sul kono 2 years ibi ka dunno mo tol bi ka tano e sul block sayndi ay lu mandi parce que ya soron côté imol fon complete no follow sako ñendo ibe jim be tal ko do la ñokan yettiñaro keje 2026 then they leave the debt behind and on the unfinished work.
Yes.
So any government who comes in in 2026, you problem will be better. You have to inherit that and have to try to correct that.
No, wala fanke ni lori ni minta la banda ni minta in December. Muneke coming Islamic Development Bank, there is nothing called interest, but in fees they will start to pay that this year.
Yes.
If all fanke can, but all the payment ya be push.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years you can your take
Grace period. Yeah.
Between your chance mean that hani it'll bota jam between the next month sakunda or no baby na will leka.
Yes.
It'll loan in beta. They try to take advantage of it now. Cause you before see Marco to win the next election. But a loan a pay binakela mente a joe to baby nakela in a very short time period. Because the minke sign thing, Masakunda minjola will mean fees from starting from this year.
Yes. Commitment fees commission fees the whole job.
But better na molka.
Yes. Interest and in principle okay.
Yeah.
And we call after ika private sector loan minta mi kamenta nyim banks nyol local commercial banks ko minta ja o fanan dawe kaf o fanan bi juro kaf la bakele and o be share la bak so be la nyokana pour nyanta jola okay. And to compound it all, sikono dami pour ka officier demanding. Like na poro, na airport all, na weg, gamtel, gamsel, will be African.
But they call
so the first tola wol to koteke means in Marco Jorol from.
But they call when I spoke to the minister here, Ibrahim, I call the policy direction now is to not privatization.
Private operation.
Private operation.
Après le business model, you
the business model.
So business model, you will kabe di bantalan call.
Business
Ibrahim
model.
no sin no me keri.
I will for sign.
Me keri Ibrahim tous lonje.
Yeah.
Because Fatou, it's not because mobile ka wala ken to confirm nyanta wala ken.
Yeah.
Ni mo kam ka mbeten we don't need to do that. CD keta sita yana ko habiringa Africa 50k ñu rega ñu nda mala ñake so say we are ndol we are 10 setas mo man soto dunya kon min xañita kaw ka tay minke Africa kono jang nobody signed that kind of recycling agreement mo wake ada mala
abe min fo ka mo ka fo ko ha edivin ko la board member sol na ta jang ke ñini ka first of all nga fo sa wosan ADB ko la board member e ka yaay Africa Banko
exactly
ka jube ko ADB be project ko mil sign ka ibe sign mbadu nga jube na organisation ne mine sign wol man na jang coming ate ñing Africa 50 minke wala wol nati na jang wol hanar Africa 50 agreement o ñi man sign pour do futi la jande as long as ADB project ko soto jang ya lon ko ya finance wol ka yaay e ka banko belema Africa
amanke endorsement
ka ko bale minke abeti atale nyabota lale
no baroko mol kana jale kana land from tola success
ko mun success min kata yemo ko
aman soto
na brillion ñing ala value Africa 50 ñole ila modelo ñi min jube jang itel fawla study to na ñim brillion ala value mo 500 million net ye jolle dintel la
100 million
wo fa mo be fa soto ñil be ibe do ko min bela yili tendani bambatenda wo we in bridge ñol ani o tol place ñol abibe bola wala kon
wo be bola 100 million ko
ha and not only that not only that yellow color near recycle ni ko don soto je is going to use for infrastructure development we have got kela ni be kela you have your pipeline of projects you da
all thing
nin ko don hado yaske yadu ndije it's one pipeline they want
even pipeline soto wo kola for min pon be kela min keta do you know the 25 years will better la jawaro min nafana ye tax holiday deal for 25 years in no jawar they'll pay zero tax for 25 years o sanji mo ne lulo le taroja hani dollar si clean hani putu clean ta jola nin company fo be investment le ne atra ko company be fende invest kam bankoka so comme ni mo be factory lo late wara bina power plant lo la estafo ko o sanji lulo construction be keke wato menna bari la revenue mantra na kan ko mantra dunka nsi at least nsi da handi demandi te tax jola bari ñil jang hani ko do mi yalon ko ila facilité be min da man sakunda ko do min de man sakunda le ba busla wala kon So 100 million of binami sotla ko mo malo ni do ko paretale ni a be konti jele mbalon na binajo la fon so.
So what's the point? Because Dr. Gajigo, when we looked at the numbers from ngafo Ibrahim Ejani, from the numbers me alonko Minister of Finance ni Ibrahim Silafon adin to lako bridge also every month. Me I calculate for 25 years, minimum $300 million.
Yes, minimum.
Minimum.
No, until I minke. For the first 3 years, it is growing. More milk can be bridgeola. Kabiri bridge be built for the first time. The financial model that was done, projection at the time, we projected around this time up to 2,000 vehicles per day. Already now they are hitting that target starting from last year. New project all the way to 2025. What we mean sort of like JFA is actually according to the model in Africa 54 may use. We mean sort of like is $500 million. 500, but tambile 300
Okay.
So need other form and you, even in the worst case scenario,
exactly
the maintenance will needs low nim bridge tinyata le repairs kela will be base spend over 25 years at nyakala 150 million. New bondi water you are still talking about 450 million.
And if you saw 100 million and 100 of the door
number one in doko min bebe kela jan fo fe mi alon ko Africa 15 nyanda doko kela gambe jan abe bola wala ko.
So what's the point? Because I feel like on the port's contract, Ibrahim Emin Fonye Wolonko, if you do come in Bakela Porote, Babonde Kodoto. But why is it that Africa 50, what we could do come in Bakela, what about Bondil and Tolokodot?
Because I'm among firm understanding quote of Fang. Diko, Ning Serum, 15.5 million, you will only the Gambia instead out of the 100 million. I mean, deal.
Yeah.
It might be the Ikadasa's goal. Instead of giving 100 million upfront, use no. The 15.5 million
in 3 payments.
Or 15.5 million, no. No infrastructure.
Yeah, do the project.
Nothing. So most probably, to recurrent expenditure.
Exactly. Not at all. It was reported in the budget as one of the revenue sources. It went into current expenditure.
Exactly. So yela korda wafi yata ita lifo. Ita wale ita mbumbayola. Wale bije because na infrastructure nying na ikoya recycle puka do ku na infrastructure do ku je fanga sifisa ya bari mo okay andi to kela fana dunga fuele biri ya ko sanga fuele ko ya kela ni do kela di pipeline so ba pipeline soto okay nying infrastructure membe kata akan banko na sindile bi ning aba nyama between airport port Gamsel now work etc. If a dividends mean Jolajang should finance our development.
Of course.
If I'm still a city, Ako Poroning, Ako El Berak is going to put $450 million. Gambia cannot raise $450 million to build a port in power. We cannot do that.
First of all, Bimpa Bekela, Walter, Eka Sile for Eka Jube, Yenil Tombo Nyadile, Eka Yin contract with the mill.
Yes.
Wolka Tombo Nyawol for problem mode. Ni sida fa mo sida ye kiskislo ke ya ke nyanta kala nyame ibalo na fo yimmil pick mo mil fo bina ning open bidding keta mo mil bina there are a lot of companies me alon ko wolle o sembo soto nyenti financial muscle and the technical expertise more than in mil tombo bare ka ni libe tombo ndro ke le ka mirele jifoka ibe la jifol fandila nyame ka tombo ndro ke wonyal.
And what's more,
I mean Africa 50 I mean first of all Africa 50 for man muntu mole Africa 50 asset recycling bank ni wole approach inata ko be asset recycling kle la banko kan ye nyine nge ba fala okay albe o fala jolle la ni na ko be 100 ya apete ya sai mbatu ngal lambo nga open bidding nga jube mojuma nyol fana mbine be compete la ni wol nata nga traffic study ke nga financial model jube barita model fa mo mimbi Africa 50 mil nata apo ko nin mo nata ko mbele ko rasan bari don't worry ninna assistant na financial model a fela nata ko nyeko itela nyin korda de 5 million ne sa san ha so na model ay wole fonyi
bande be kemele bi de 1 million
no ato fo another do ko so itenya ninda value to nata ifana ni na fansum value na ifana ya wore te fonga la study ke yalo ila fen ko nyanta sutula nyaan barnyil sitale Africa 50 le fonga nata ni la consultant lo nata ye financial model o dada wolo financial model o sitale ya jube ko ñin si soto no bari bitum be 100 le dilated ite man siye fa ñinen ka mun atna albeñe le dilana atel be jolle soto lan fa
But Dr. Gajigo, you an interesting piece. You said the Gambia lost at least 100 million in the Africa 50 deal. How? And one thing that was so striking for me, you called out the Minister of Finance. So you ansidiketa ente bole moja mara wala sila mboka rapoko. Even for Sidima, it's too harsh. Why? How? I mean, that was my opinion before. So I withdraw.
No, sir. You know, because that I see that I because ngalon ne how much fenko nyi jolle na brijoni akoromi bondi sawosa for the first 4 years then after 50 ba start mol ngalon murjolle ka cross ngalon ne ka murjol charge min de la charging it starts from $50 all the way to $2,000 wo niaje traffic ka gro nyame sawosa ka sele nyame sawosa you estimate for 25 years hani danta 15 years da mali you estimate all the way to 2048, something like that. Moto mimbe cross la, adun price obe kela jolen, adun price o nyembe sel la nyame, ni obe calculate. Africa 50 nyolia, agreement o ye o sembo de Africa 50 lele ka afenko nyemfango, tol nyinka kafu. Ni obe calculate, you come to around 500 million. Now, eka sile ye famira, okay, ni Africa 50 le bejan doku la, ite lebe nyemuta la, ite lebe repair kela. Ika sile ya jube, okay, sa wosa repair avec la jolle ya calculate for the whole 25 years. Ni o be kafunyonka mahani 100 million si. So ni o bondi 500 okon. You still have more than 400.
Yeah.
Africa 50 te hani tax butut kilinjola. During that time. Africa 50 wokola they will create this SPV. Me along Tonya Gambia will have a little share. But remember that's equity. Equity is considered risky because you are the residual claimant. Fengo beka jole foe pare for jele equity kana fali. So nito ko mole ko ha man sekunda ba share sot lenyi equity jele te mantra sikan ke mira.
Yes.
Because will be tale follow ye fanjo ye dokula nati it else sile ya foe ko ha nyi brijola karola nintel be pour intel la mol fa mil kana jan jube mbe jola nyile is expenses nyol be di dok jele ya be di dok min betula je hana asikeno fo ite lundo fo isi sile fo in particular year hani fenete sotola but wo batar la wo Africa 50 they are making a lot of money. So ni sita ku kele ngalon ni wolio the total revenue ngalon to 25 years wo be kala $500 million net $500 million. Hana atra repair be kala nyim bridge ñu bridge ku tolte ama hani sanjilula man tambia la folo. That means nying for the next 25 years abe repair min nyinin kala man sia si nya jole repair kala dentin bridge ine si repair jamal je nyin si lokan dentin bridge ay ha min yes le kija so nyim bridge be tar la janne nyim it was a modern build new bridge so nying for the next 25 years abe do ko min nyinin kala repair man sia. So that means Africa 50 be min sulala min na pour ka nyim bridge repair wote sia la baake. So Neo Bondije, you have this amount, me along is at least 400 million. Wo kono sai ite nyanta sile mira okay 400 million wo kono sai then Africa 50 nyanta jubel sai nata nyambuka ala asset recycling niti nyanta jubel be 400 talala nyame ite be sino la nyaadi le ye so ka 100 million damaso o kola to e mantro fo be so to ka
tax fund ita jo
ngo zero tax for 25 years they will honey tax killing ita jo
and Africa 50 da mante woti.
So
concession contracts be
so minister ni inte fa mi inte jahala la kula mi en kamfande kabrabe tata West Coast Radio akole ko ha modol ba fula ko community la 100 million soto janyanta siala wotile nyimbriyo ya lo 96 to 98 million nela gele kalon ko indicator nim banku dole ite nyim fo minister wulungule be te bayle do ko
he doesn't understand anything
because it means you are very incompetent ite man qualification so ka minister bi nite bungolo bi ye pungolo la suo kono ko ya lo min is 5 million
value kala fal every day
ma bari be min ya lo bi 5 million wala value as sell no le OIG no depending on the market situation bari ni data repis kunum msa for 20 to 30 years jang in tranquille nyol mafa jamu wuro kono bari ye korda lo around that inata ye korda lo la falinta wonya wala value be kafulale you know so bridge abuko silo ni bridge abe mu kilinete ne bridge dada ala value min amanke min dundiji ala value mu minti ate si min bondi yeno si min doku yeno for the next janenga betinyala adum bridge la lifespan ad sutiata nyawnya is 50 years most of the time is more than that ite alo nebe jolle soto ka woto sawosa nyina adu yalo sawosa obe kafula for the next 25 years e ka sire obe kafunyonka Africa 50 years woleke pour ka wala ne nata nyin offer de nyin la because it be return min soto la ya lon
profit
so ite be sila watu ite be sila jaw ite ko na ite ka fu mole ko wol natale ha bari nyin bridge nga lo 96 to 98 million nela ni wole 100 di mol la abete atale ite mo lo be min keka ite nyanda silele ya lon ko be nyin tol revenue kanyi le soto nyin bridge hada ata nyin bridge ya lo nye 50 million nela bb nyin bridge si min bondi no sawosa ya ka fu nyonka is half a billion wole siata na nyin bridge ka min bondi wole siata na man sekunda fa la budget oti ni ya 25 years ni ya ka fu nyonka you know so nyim sidi keda be min foka mole nyim mala do ko long simple valuation of valuation of asset nyim ma wole fangolong akake nyame
yes
wo ko la fanan ni tani organizational bi sida albe kachala even though ADB le Africa 50 dada ADB Africa 50 dada le pour I run as a commercial enterprise so that I run separately not as a development bank but as a commercial entity wol ye dada le ko natel bit albe negotiation kele you must negotiate as if you are a company B Africa 50 ADB te sila B in Gambia agreement okay ko government lo until for the next 25 years alte bridge okay la river to ADB to okay ni okay lumene la board le famo be you know will put them in trouble but now Africa 50 be okay la
It's a business enterprise.
It's a business enterprise. It's created for that purpose.
And Africa 50, we set up Africa 50. During Africa 50 setup, it is to complement ADB la financing capacity.
Yeah.
Because ADB is essentially concessionary loans, na ADF window, and ADB for a few countries in Africa, okay, and the private sector window. But we needed more money to do development works. So we're an Africa 50 setup to complement the financing of the infrastructure development at market rate. So Africa 50 lot will come. So we'll be here it's a business enterprise like any local bank here. Okay? Now my minister sita ha no, can you imagine Africa 50 ADB let ya law what is it come and to be ADB we're a shareholder of Africa 50. We're a shareholder of ADB. So is this guy okay?
The other example, let me tell you, ADB, they have been in projects me along with ADB in Africa Exim Bank. They be negotiate. Ado ADB le fane Africa Exim Bank start.
Yes.
But ning ADB be loan di kan or equity di kan walla. It can treat like any other entity because it's a separate legal entity. It has to go through every single regular process. It must go through senior management process. It must go through the credit risk committee. It goes to the senior management committee. It goes to the board. They don't make a distinction. Kafoko, hey, Ajube, Africa 50, as we speak right now, it's another ADB like a loan daughter. At this moment, as we speak, they are in ADB Puka loan daughter. Will be treated kind of like any single project. So that means how the ADB from me Africa 50 dada nibe siri nibe project ko fola it can treat like any entity that ADB le Africa 50 dada. So jele balon na ko ni but hana tra from Ndel we are the biggest shareholder. Not upon Gambia is the biggest shareholder. Yet see la from Kemira. Nita mo minister. Ite you are the representative of the government. Ite you are there to look for the best interest of the country. The staff of Africa 50 will you all see the jele pour Africa 50 la interest jube. Wolte murula ila boss nyolia wulia for ala negotiation no korale Gambia de ma jele. No. Will be sindile yininka ale nyi ming sign. Korea Ale Africa 50 la interest
and to complement that, African Development Bank, Africa 50, European Investment Bank, anywhere, New Euro deal, we have loan negotiations.
Exactly.
Janebe loan signed. Ikana Gambia government na mole na C, African Development Bank na mole C, na loan negotiate ka jube sign from si d'accord no. So Gambia ne loyalty. African Development Bank na loyalty nga see nga negotiate. Janibe loan sign. Ning a tarako because we are shareholders. They are looking after our interests. Utekela.
So sign.
So na ko sidi kera be afan ko fa sidi ke ananga see nga debate. Ito sonna.
No.
Bari But
I wish Mr.
Ousman coming for them to compliment again. I mean for you. Ni Trans-Gambia Bridge. Rimba Lola. It is part of what was called the NEPAD Medium to Long-Term Strategic Framework. NEPAD MLST. MLSTF. So the corridor like Africa Bacon. Northern corridor, Eastern corridor, Southern corridor, etc. This is the Trans-Gambia corridor. Going from Dakar all the way to Abuja. So Purko traffic facility is part of the trade facilitation and regional integration on the African continent. So Silol will build roads all around the continent and then transversal roads. Pour trade Keno. So once this Silo bridge in Pareta, I think for it's $97 million. But in addition to that, we got another 14 million euro under the European Pagoda Fund for Silo de access roads.
Access roads to the bridge,
okay? Because we're not going to access roads because Silo bridge is supposed to facilitate trade, inter-West African trade. So when West African trade developed, Silo bridge will have more vehicles plying it. And the more vehicles that ply it, the more income is going to generate. So the revenue streams and revenue flows will be different. Okay, so the government is supposed to look after that, and your revenue streams will grow. Nima grow. Senegal is building roads around the country. If at one point it might become more economical to take the road Tambakunda and down than going to Trans-Gambia Bridge. At that point, the bridge is dead. Africa 50 will not do that for us. That is our national development priorities. Okay. Africa 50 is going to get there to go get money and get its return on its investment.
In fact, don't even talk about sometimes even in Africa 50 they'll have an individual. Mialonko is in charge of the project. What individuality? They are looking at their professional interest during that point. Well, at the end of the day, vitamin sapelela CVs nyoto wolemko nganyim big asset recycling ke Gambia 100 million so and so. Wasikeno sama fa watata do ko la janga sita dularo but itela banko ite the chief you are the minister of finance the chief economic advisor to the country to the government or to the president ite nyanta do ko men kele mawke ite ko ha danko ron Gambia is a member country of ADB ha nintel ni wolbe agreement okela amanjare inte nganda do ko ente sinaro nga sinono because wolbe ndela do ko wolba kelantel juma lo fote banku ni banku dole minister nyamata ya daila nyin sifa ko lungu ite be bulele du ko but the fact that nyimbe tarna ala minister ya la be continuer la wala nyanta nyiten la mol la ko president so nyim banko ka nindel ma wule nga nyaayele next year nyin continuer dante la president ya Gambia jambe mfanjula dulato de abe kole ala mol
very cool la model now is partnerships. I mean, because it's made of Ibrahim Konkana for mortgage. I told Jabi Walla, I can't mortgage, I told Jabi Walla. But when it comes to the port, Nigeria Albarka, right? Ibrahim also told us that I had an issue with the Neuro, even though Gambian or Lamuiti. But you are taking business from a Gambian institution, the Gambia International Airlines. You just reduce them to selling people's tickets because they don't have an airplane. They're just selling tickets for Air Senegal, Brussels Airways, Turkish and others. They don't have any other core business. Freighting, ground handling. Now, ground handling in Bebule, now you just reduce them to what? Just selling people's tickets. But he argued that Neuro Mugambe. I'm like, Neuro is Gambia. But it's just like, you take GRTS and take all of their Kerr Fatou. That doesn't make sense. Right?
Yeah.
So GIA iko airport ofana ini molbe diamu kanne very soon the airport kuto lola ako hani Senegal wala be Senegal abenka ko but never be lal beto. So it seems like Gamtel is growing. Gamtel ngal no okatal completely. Gamtel I think they're going to do some other different method in Gamtel.
Okay.
poro tatale airport o katale na Senegambia bridge of an boleto. So all of these
nawek fa mol buka nawek fo boda benyamente
hani nawe ngalo o betu lambule fo
hani mimpekela mansakunda nyantale ka to invest in generation but instead of ka kodo nyinta ka generation okay ngamune ke son della generation sa ya be outsourced to car power ship nka kodo min di wala sawosa
ani Senegal
no, but at least Senelec ta from official demandé because at least wol nka minjo wala kuramoto wol ye daele ya mole at National Assembly but the car power ship momalo hani say mole information request kele pour ye mole agreement on ni wol fintindi e manso because nka minjo wol ye sawosa wol ka bolbe generation min use kala kulungoka ndel ka minjo sawosa asu kulungosa sawosa. We are paying over 30 million and they are only supplying us 30 megawatts.
30 million.
Ngaminjo woli dollars.
Near for
what?
Dollars.
Yeah.
From 7 years na null agreement ngaminjo to car power ship.
Yeah.
Nyo kodo beta ya kafunyonka. Ye fenkolo a power plant loja. Abe Gambia be supply le fon electricity fon delsi Senegal fon delsi Senegal supply.
Exactly.
Sawo sanga min bondi. Imira nyinna de nyinna man ke dulato mi ya lon ko bu ko say nin tetara ye bungulo e ko nyeko Ousmane lafta ka bungulu wasi bari be min jola ila luwaso sawosa wonyanta ka bunkuto lonyel nin ka pawsi be wole keka sawosa million tansaba min tambita woti dollars be wole joka nin ka pawsi adu be min soto kanje nkamin soto Senegal wol fon siada nkamin soto nyelbul.
And then the thing is the continuity.
So the
they
question...
are not doing anything. I mean, but it could be power plant. But local jana, nka jile gana tawal post. But fena local.
A solar power plant.
Solar power plant. So then need solar thinking no.
Look,
imagine how many megawatts.
Exactly.
Nyininka how many megawatts bije. Gambia be damen jansa le ka hume generation capacity in sulata minna. We should be talking about several hundred. But currently na banko ka nga generation capacity means sort of jamela time wala siya means sort of size. Because 50 megawatts nga wala bondi Senegal. 30 megawatts nga wala bondi car power ship. So nga jolle bondi jansa. Nga means sort of jansa and 50 amos.
No, we dropped to 55 megawatts and that's come from Brikama. We were about 50 megawatts. What in the Fatajonol Vijanu?
Yeah.
We were about 50 megawatts.
Rajita.
And it dropped because all the machines are out of order. Kotu is out of order.
But
Brikama also is out of order. So we are generating only about 5 megawatts of power in this country.
My thing is, World Bank is putting so much money into Nawekla Doko. Because I remember doing a project for them, documentary on one of the World Bank projects. This Kenyan company, Mio, implement Wellington hired to do a documentary for them. And I was excited that in the next couple of years, we will be the Pinkeland. And
the money that came into this country for Nawek,
yeah.
Ning Ayatranga invest in Nawek. We will be selling today power to the West African Power Pool.
Exactly.
So West African Power Pool will be selling power to them. Over $440 million came into this country for Nawek from 2017. Where did it go? Why are we still importing power from Senelec and buying power from Car Power?
Ado nyin ka power nanga kukilin fo e mi alon ko nyanta kilo kleja. Alman sari len ko nyin ka e minke won. Yes, lunkili no yalon jang Gambia and therefore not only are we have to take a letter of credit from a commercial bank just so if there's a delay in payment.
What about central bank? Mouse no.
What they want to take it from somebody, me alone is a commercial bank, me alone there's a guarantee, so that there is no, you know, we are several months behind payment with Senelec. Nyamama, honey, 1 month.
No, Papa, only 1 month. No,
Ikela Fenko, Ela Ankola Bondiro, Yela Kulungo Sabaya, some few kilometers away. What you like a Sierra Leone? What see that the Bokono, local killing for full him. Ibe kodo min fefe na ye commande ne ko Allah kodo fele murtana ye cool plok nyon ni be sirinja ye julole meaning kan wala saint.
But this is serious.
But
this is really serious. Near Jube, sometimes I get scared and I see a lot of people saying I'm crying, this is sad. And whenever I have you people tell me people from government, and they call me personally. Some people will say, you guys paint a very negative picture, but I think it's good to
but
just
the picture is negative.
Because this is serious.
we don't want to sugarcoat it. We have to say it as it is.
Ni nawe kanyin tonya fu nawe la kor mune akumandi je. Kunun ko ba. For Dr. Sise Manta Kafoko, Gambia is going to get universal power.
Yes, I will vote.
Wala tin nang ko.
Wala kanyin be voting. Dr. Koko indi akon tolbe sambi sign tolbe kala bango fa malo. Okay.
Yeah, so first of all, how can you supply power to the whole country? First of all, nete man generation capacity soto. Ite kurango mi mialon majority of the kurango mi isula tala ila bankoka. Wandi kulungo mialon kibe kungote ka bondi wolto. Senegal ibata ka milbul karejol lem we are behind payment. You know. So it is the banko be supply no nyadi.
And what's more, Senegal. Senegal ka power mi wafima. They buy from Manantali.
Yeah.
They buy from Manantali at 23 francs per kilowatt hour. And they sell it to us for 127 francs, CFA francs per kilowatt hour.
And what that dia ta nyim fawti mbemi mbodo kan ka power ship. Because what that call atele fo ibuka song fan wo contract ko moyoji.
Yes. Yes.
By the way,
but they hide every contract in this country. Nothing comes out. You actually have to pry it out of them. Yeah. Okay? Senegal will negotiate. Senegal, exactly. Yeah. Senegal will negotiate in Manantali. Why can't we negotiate in Manantali?
Directly from the source.
And eliminate the middle person.
Yeah.
So
and pay only the transmission through Senegal.
Exactly.
Okay? But more importantly, why can't we invest in generating the power ourselves?
Exactly.
They'll tell you, to their defense, when I had Ibrahim Masila here, Ngaiko, we have the manpower, we have the people. When I think will be outsourced. Don't we have the capacity? Don't we have the knowledge and the manpower? Ako investment long. Government cannot do those investments.
Why?
Well,
why?
Investment will say
let me answer that question.
Because no investment was recorded.
Kabring start ka power sit Joe. I didn't sign tema 30 million, at least 30 million. Most of the time it's more than 30 million per year. I wouldn't sign tema. Ngamim Joe is over 200 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Neo Kodota.
Yeah.
And we've been paying that regularly.
That's over 210 million.
Yes.
Above that,
So 200 million dama. Yo tabi yalondi. You'll build a power plant miyalonko is 200 megawatts. Wobe kodamin drone savla. Gambia korami bejang is about 300,000. Near or 200 megawatts now. So korami supply no. Given the kurang use no nyame per capita electricity consumption. Korda over 400,000 households can be supplied by that. In other words, New Londi Jang as a power plant, Kodata la Gambia Jami Mankronso. But no jole, 7 years, completely, a man for coming, so Nim Mansakunda Bondi can be loan takan, iba Bondi can na budget. Na last year budget 1.8 million, you will a Bondi Purka Senelek Joe. I more Senelek, Purka Kappa Joe. Jumane kurangota Gambia Jang on credit. Ibuka cash power
pay as you go.
Yeah. Pay as you go.
No, you pay in advance for it.
Exactly.
In advance.
So molbe kurango jo can prepay, moment nawek donto kodola. Yet we 1.8 billion yo bondi mola budget pour kata kapa wajo. Adu mune kake sawo sanni auditors nata. Ni ajube nawe ko ka kapa wajo minna versus ikamin safe la general lejato. Ni tare kapa wa nyininka. Ale jolle soto nawek bul. There is always a difference of several $million. Sometimes over 100 million. Mo bukalu nga kodo tata dabe.
Obe kata audit report.
Akata audit report to saw from a baby website you can go and read it. Wala nganyel safe a baby kata saferi njel. Adu nene maje from there's even a special audit ka jube ka nyin ko ka jube o kodoni mela aka fili nawek bulu akata muntol. Iman nawek la MD ta ya sindi ya nyininka bar yewo ta ya promote yake mo le minister to problem mi be ke kan abe continue kan to this day. Ita si sina mole ila minister of information ita si mo nyaaro mol hadani la ba fola mole ko by next year we are going to have universal power electricity. If entre jele ka mole started all the sirim bi URR mi alon kuran kata 1 week e ko connection o sotole ita be siri 1 week imam kuran soto mu sort of mu universal electricity le woti o yetra sirin dulal ton te lawulin kama dul bi je nela frijo famu dundi sometimes abu kamala because kuran fluctuates
that's also good to say even jama for me we get power more often than not. The voltage is so low. nearly plug like electric kettle, not so corner. Ninga plug tomorrow, it doesn't work.
Abuka work.
Or it takes 10 minutes to heat. Because the voltage capacity is inadequate to power those things. But in the Gambia right now, consumption is about 100 megawatts, about 9700 megawatts a year. If we produce 200 megawatts here, everybody will have power. But to produce 200 megawatts, we need about $200 million.
$200 million.
Just like the silos, there are these standards.
Exactly.
Megawatt is about $1 million per megawatt to produce. If you invest $200 million, we get 200 megawatts, and we are covered.
The energy problem is gone.
But sila do 130 jawra makeno fenke makeno to do jame makeno
they're just spinning. It's not the reality. Look, Fatou, today we don't even have to go that route from. We can skip some of those fossil fuel generation and move to clean energy. We can do the solar plants, build a couple of solar plants around the country. And not only will we become power sufficient in a very short time, but we cut the cost of generation. Ni heavy fuel oil for the generators, we get solar power. Okay? If we need, we can complement it with wind power farm. Build some wind farms, but we don't need it. So a few solar power plants around the country will supply the country. River Gambia BJ, we can harness it to produce hydro, but we don't even need that either. Okay? So the potential of this country for power generation is huge. We are sitting on the coast, so we have a lot of wind coming in. We can build a wind farm along the coast if we want and generate a lot of power from that. But we don't need to do all of that from just do the solar. But we're still importing power at a very high cost. And generation costs are high. Transmission costs are high because the power lines are antiquated. They are trying to replace some of those fine, do it quickly. But Hanio generation also don't know. What is the point? You overhaul the power lines, but you don't have enough generation capacity. So we are living on borrowed time. The day we are not able to pay Senelec and in car power, they'll unplug us and go.
Exactly. And remember, it will only be State House. General Ningol Milbe by Sambala only the State House for down by
exactly. But we need that energy sovereignty. Again, Niger, when they had the coup d'etat, ECOWAS wanted to sanction them. Overnight, Nigeria unplugged its power supply. And Niger lost 70% of its power. People are dying in hospital on the operation tables. Do we want to take that sort of risk when we can generate our own power? We're painting a negative picture. The negative picture is what is in the country. We're talking of the reality in the country. And unless we recognize that reality and deal with it, we're going to continue growing this problem because we're growing the problem. Because we will need more and more power. And you cannot have any meaningful investment in this country if you don't have energy.
No, forget about that. Economy
Senegal is bringing energy costs down. Even their gas to power. When they start putting that in place, energy costs already have dropped considerably in Senegal. And they're going to drop even further. So nobody in his right mind is going to come and invest in the Gambia here with high energy costs when you can invest next door in Senegal. And have the African Continental Free Trade Area. So you can produce there and sell to the Gambia and sell everywhere else.
Talking about sales, first, Sute, thank you for the start, and Ismail Basiru, thank you so much for the start. Talking about sales, Mega Bank. Now we need when you're open. Yes. Mega Bank, but still, I'm not business maker. You might be for.
Two things. Mega Bank. 2014. Like a Mega Bank salvage. Mega Bank was going under. nga sang pour ka save.
Yeah.
We bought it in 2014 for $900 million.
900 million.
Yes. 600 from Ministry of Finance, 300 from Central Bank.
Okay.
And see, 9 years afterwards, when we salvaged the bank, nga restructure, nga rehabilitate, and did everything, took staff from Central Bank to run it. The board was part of the Central Bank. And you developed the bank for it was working again and making profits. You sell it 9 years down the line for the same $900 million. Yes, Amir.
Yes, Amir. So I won't profit me. Oh?
The bank was worth at least $2.5 billion.
But why do you think we sold it though, even at that price?
Yeah.
Because there have been a lot of allegations of
Yes.
the operations at the bank. And I want to thank everybody that's sending us stars. Thank you. But there were a lot of allegations that who they were giving loans to, how they were connected to. And then all of a sudden, the bank was sold.
I'll tell you something.
Okay, go ahead.
Isn't it funny that that bank was sold for $900 million?
Yeah.
And that bank gave $1 billion loan at about the same time. $600 million to one company and $400 million to another company. That's about the sale price. Is there a coincidence there, or do we have to read into that?
Say that again, please.
The bank was sold for $900 million.
Yes.
And this bank gave out $1 billion loan just about the time it was sold. Is that a coincidence? Or is that something there?
Too much of a
One.
coincidence.
Two, this bank was sold. The Minister of Finance had the gall to sit there and look us in the face and said, "Ya wafi mima atamalo jumalemu and yours is KM consortium or holding. Ya wafi wallema." He said, "You are the Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
When you sell that kind of institution, you should do your due diligence
Exactly.
to make sure you're not
KYC.
selling it to some drug dealers.
Yes.
You're not selling it to people who are going to do money laundering.
Money laundering. Yeah.
You're not selling it to some terrorist organization. You should do that due diligence.
Yeah.
Nimo, okay, how do you know who you sold it to?
And it's a financial institution.
It's a financial
In your
institution.
country.
We're all fighting. We're all fighting money laundering.
Yeah.
We're all fighting terrorism financing. How do you know you haven't sold to somebody who's going to do terrorism financing with it? How do you know it's not going to somebody who's going to recycle drug money? So when did you do your due diligence? How did you sell that bank? And you have the gall to tell us that you don't know who you sold that bank to. And it's the same thing that happened when they signed the contract for the polymetallic nodules in the deep sea mining. The same thing. Who owns that company? I could know it's a Belgian company and another company working with Gambian company, some Gambian investors. Who are the Gambian investors? He doesn't know. Really? You don't know who are those investors? You don't know who is Norwegian company? The deep sea mining is seriously regulated. That is what is called the United Nations Conference on the Law of the Sea. UNCLOS. When that was signed in 1982, the Gambia signed that convention in May of 1982. And in October of the following year, of 1984, we ratified it in Parliament.
Yeah.
And that compels us to have a very serious regime for the exploitation of those resources on the seabed. So for the moment, no country in the world is doing deep sea mining of those polymetallic nodules. These are the rare earth minerals, cobalt, manganese, lithium, and that sort of thing. Because if we all start mining in the deep sea bed, it's going to be destruction of a magnitude in the marine environment. So Norway is the only country in the world that has said that now we're going to do deep sea mining, and they decided to go ahead with it. And Norway has one of the biggest territorial waters in the world because of its geographic location.
Yeah.
But they didn't do it in Norway. They came to do it here in the Gambia. Why? Why?
And the other thing for maybe is it's not that in principle there is anything wrong with like sale of a bank,
Yeah.
or to do mining, if you have resources, is that there are established processes kake anyama.
Nyama.
Yes. Yes.
So the thing is that you learn from other countries, you understand your context. Yeah, nibe kolkele yake with the nation's interest being
First.
That's hard.
center and forefront.
Yeah.
So that alabanta nyaonya asoksita wa among succeed wo koku nata finti the nation's interest is safeguarded. Wole manke wole mjan problem wodi. It's not that there's anything wrong. Again, we can go back to privatization, selling part of some services at the airport, buying power from somewhere else, asset recycling. In principle, there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you said that.
It's just that the way you mansakunda ka kenyami, ye momil tombo milka mansakunda represent ni kolbekela ima londo soto ima experience soto bankola interest mankela interest.
Also, my experts in our the finance and the justice ministry. I'm assuming negotiations will be carrying experts kaba wallet to go.
When yininka kabiring CDK bita aning Africa 50 be negotiate la aning expert jumale tata.
Aning momenta.
So modo ya fundi ako Africa 50 more kabiring nata. Kabiring the negotiation with nata. I don't want to say exactly where we from you, but it was so funny. It was so funny. Why?
No, because we
don't have we do have experts.
This government, we have a lot of competent people who are working in government. Some of them, they are very young people.
Yeah.
And I've met people in this government. In Attorney General's chambers, they are very young and competent attorneys there.
Yeah.
They are young and competent people, even the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah.
The thing is just like, when you have an incompetent government as this, and you have people at the top who are motivated by things other than the national interest. The people they elevate at positions of responsibility are, sycophants and people who praising them, people who will do as they are told, who are quote unquote team players, who will see the wrong thing being done and say nothing about it. People who are independent, people who will give advice or look for things that are in the interest of the country. These people will be sidelined. So the right people, the competent people in this administration, they are present in the government. Those people are sidelined.
Yeah.
You will find them, some of them even at the level of directors, they'll be sidelined. Even some people at the level of permanent secretaries, they will be sidelined. The ones who would be given, a seat at the table, who will be making decisions, are not people who are competent to do it, but people who are there, who are just hustlers in a sense, like this sort of caliber, the ministers we have. If you have an incompetent minister like CDK, he's going to make sure the people closest to him when he's doing a deal like this are those who are going to keep quiet. They are not going to report on improper things they are seeing. They are not going to
kick up any dust.
Blunder.
Yeah.
What a blunder he has done. The people who might say something about what a terrible decision the country is making, he will make sure that those people are sidelined. This is how a government that is run by incompetent people at the top, this is how they operate. The Gambian civil service, there are a lot of smart Gambians who are in government.
Yeah.
We have knowledge of those.
Absolutely.
But they have been deliberately sidelined.
Yeah. And even if we were to need more people to supplement that capacity that we already have, like the young attorneys at the Ministry of Justice. If we needed more people with certain expertise, we have, for example, at African Development Bank, we have the African Legal Support Facility. African Legal Support Facility can provide us seasoned lawyers in particular areas to help us.
At no cost.
In deep sea mining, I'm sure we don't have any experts on that because it's a highly specialized area.
Yeah.
But to go to African Development Bank, tell them we want African Legal Support Facility to support us in this area. They will provide us lawyers, seasoned lawyers in that area, in that sector, at no cost.
No cost.
And we negotiate with those people. But that is if you want to do the right thing. If you have the country's interest at heart, if you want to make sure the country gains, you do that.
Yeah.
But if you want to get a quick kickback or whatever, and you don't bother those things. Hey, how much are you putting on the table? Yeah. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah, you're looking at. Juka,
and you see, when you get to a point where all that matters is how much you can get out of a deal, and not how much you can get for the country.
Yeah.
then we are in trouble.
We're in trouble.
And that's where we are today.
Yeah.
They will say all sorts of things. They will negate what we say. They will fight back. But that is the reality. You see, when you start fighting corruption and saying these things, the corruption fights back. We have to be strong to continue fighting, to continue exposing what is wrong. We aren't going to sing praises for this government.
Yeah.
And that's what they want us all to do.
We will not do that.
And we will not do it.
We will do our job.
We will do our job. We'll expose them for what they are.
Yeah. Juka, you came in late today. Huh? Dr. Gajigo, you also did a story some time back about the agriculture sector. You talked about the, how do you call it, the sale of tractors, the procurement process. And, you have been always saying the state capture. I remember the cement and you kept saying it. And now you're talking about the agriculture, the sale of the tractors that were supposed to come last year. Let's look at that story. I didn't hear anything from the government when you said it.
The Minister of Agriculture and the President, they are the ones who went on before the whole nation, talked about there will be how many tractors coming?
180.
180. It was reported widely. People were, because these, ask anyone of country who is in agriculture. I mean, these heavy machineries are very difficult to have.
Yeah.
There is people are in need of this molka sulanyile bokaso. Ede from president for Anila Minister of Agriculture, it had a banko nyalo ko mole ko 180 tractors. Abe sotola. Samana tafa tambita tractor manji. Iman ka lo mole ka foko ndelengal promise tractor la nka bina amanna. So ndenga de kanyini nkaro kinyum kola. Nko ni mol dantan diamu. Ngami moy wole mnyinde. Ko jara fa nying there was a bidding process done. A company Yona won. But then at the end ni lafta ka di Yona la watu minna nga story mi moy ko wolem there is a directive na ko fo do to dundije wolem jomati gach. Bitu be wolto ba sabaka fo sama na ta fa tambita o mankeno so saying ya ko dada fa fo ya dada saying Yuna ning gatle ba contract ko nyintala.
But how is that possible? Not a bidding process came and then it went through tender process and then it was a closed tender and then Modo winter. How do you cancel that?
It's not supposed to happen.
It's just the same thing like the port project, the Albera contract. Albera put a bid as a consortium. In Emile bidding, they withdrew. But this contract still went to Albera. How?
So nyimbuka because hani ninyil Gambia procurement authorities fa yela doko ke ilota silola wo contract ko mudati na nyinkobe reopen na again nata bidding kita nyama ale wi na soto muna nalbita albe nyilla ko te ka fu do fana yake danko ro mo kilinto kije ado momin to be kala je ngalo no man ke random passinti wo is a very close connection to the president wona lafta banko la fa tabuka asam business ni mo business man of Gambia ni lafta ka fengo sa iba mabola dame ikata o land ni yasa mulkata sanyame ita yasa yila kudo bonde bara no the same Abubakar Jawara wala business amuneke wala tar mola forestry yidlalta ya kuntu we several hectares ya di wala ikamero ko mu special salaji forest a protected forest comme bi yalon jam dula mi yalon ko Musa Furo is a protected forest amongo siaki udlandingo ngamin soto eta yeje kuntu ya di wala munatinna munanda wote kodo bonne no la ay obe kodo min sulla wote wo nadiata wo wasidla min sa kombo kono jang asidla sa min pon warta wote so the same preferential treatment e kamindi wala dalta mindi la wala ibe ko le continuer kan kadi wala so nyin tractor la ko ye banko be bali tractor danko drum businessman killing we contract ko soto samana ra tambita itele side banko promise eko moli eko wo tractor 180 abinale amanna imallo ka fu moli ko munatin naw dile keta the minister of atondi the vice president ya nyinin ka wato men na ako there was some I forgot the quotation
procurement delays
procurement delays and some other things iman so ye ko silendi mon ma munatin na woketa munatin na wo kabirngal ni annonce wato min na keta wato min mo Clinton monta munan na sa wonata ke mo fulati munata na wonata ke president Barrow la connected person.
And then Dr. Gajigo, the reason why this is very worrying is this. And I said this, President Barrow can because no, but this is serious.
God forbid.
No, because Natran told me Gambian rulings. Contrago Gambian contract. Kama mi alanko taxpayers money. Alko ngata fair ni ndirola. Nin tata ni mole aste ka foko hani ni munna mole ti nyule kam mako na politiko ko na ni dundije. Even when other people win fair and square, Tractor is one, and there are other ones that are also there.
But
the same thing. How crazy is that in any country?
But instead of all of us being Barrow, what we should do is remove Barrow to bring in a fair system.
But then in 2026, you haven't
to bring in a fair system. It will be tough. But we have to survive that and come back in 2026 and change this system.
And while we are talking about this, yale ni bedi amula agricultural kula jama mulbe kan hakilotu nyin sama fenkolto tia seno woni mani fenkolto but agriculture tambita wote
yeah
ne mirande ku amamen artikulo sape nyin apo musolla nyin gadnol fananda karola
yeah
musolla gadnol karola man sekunda ya hakilo da bundu wotole completely niaje gadin jode sate jolle be nyin banko kam miya lonko musolla gadnol biji badi bulem ban jarale ban kombo jang nyomi lem laud la nyamina lem bang sandu lem bang same lem bang wulli lem bang fuladu lem bang kantora lem tumanna lem bang nyil be gadnol be nyul la be bari isi futa sate jumal to ya fo mole ko mansa kundal nata jang sansam mole jodi mole joe mulsi no e kamin fo ha niaje mbuka fendi la projet kol kanale ike ma ko iten ye boholol kijang ye sansan keja pare ite nyanta silale itela mansa kundate nyim banko mil isi sino le ya konti banku sate jolle gadno soto jang hani boholo be bulu ye nyinin ka fo jonyin ke sileba bi ta ye futa kanikunda sabak sanja boholo bijele projet kol ya kije bar wo nyinin ka fo jio ke sileba ta danku ge nyinin ka roke dol ni nye jibon roke bi wol ke fo nyole bi sama dol yake adu we are talking about April sign tilobe kandirin sign ne fango jabol sulata jola more than any other time bari si futa dulal to nyim banko kan dulal mi yalon ko dol hani pompe clean la gad no ko places like Salikenye bi ni futa de force boholo min bela ni lokun tambila la force boholo so la gadi no ko adu gad no bi je sanji talula tambitala muso min dama bi je muso keme fula tambitala bari je kolomol damal bi je boholo man taji so nimbe agriculture la ko fola molka nyina le jama kamira don ko min tiya dokulal anin mari dokulal bari garim dolbe keri na ko dolbe keri ko do min kasoto wolto wala fankasiya molka min soto ko nyun kunko
you talking of
ni wol nyanta de maro min soto ni o soto gambe be bata min to bi kuloli sulata men ni ya soto jiyo sulata men ya soto ila dula min ka sans min nyanta ka sansa na sansanta wo kola fana nin gadno nyin dokuta inyanta ke la fengol mil mota nyante ke mabo da pour kala tare atinyala bi badi bun kol nyinen ka ni tara bi ni la benyaro fandi ya fandi mente wala nyi lokun nin tambita sun karo kono isita du moto dolbi je hani kemenin talula bukas ikamin soto ya buko wosi ite o doko ke kabirin December ibe mente o doko la yew doko fay para ay mo ya ke la benyaro kono ya du ni kumoto na eta du moto ita min soto laje hani ila paso be min jola ila tato ni nato paso ado ni fotata je ibe kanina minna nyin lumoto ni obe bondi je ita be doko ko kam munen hani feita soto so agriculture la wo karola man sukunda ya da bondi je completely wo musol be fayele wonya so at least ni milka sama doko ke e ka engrais do mandin soto milbe mani doko la tractor do mandin ka futaje bari musol ka bokato jankata fo koyna kabo wulli fode kundanyol brifunyol kana fo nyomi jang nyingadi nol be mansa kundala bulot hani cleanet wol be fayele adun danko agriculture mamfuta wodula to nga wolde maro di wala wol nyanta kasuto nyame agriculture tita nyaato
give you in the same line jang International Women's Day ni usen dabotata Women's Garden jang no Joshua jang well, Women's Garden, women bije musomi do kola je asera mo kemeti. ne bohol kilinti ye be ka kolongol lesing ni kolongol sing fang
ando ko mo janne
ah e ka morsion le duniya pour kolong kana boy
akana boy
so ka jibi wol ka na ko jibu
wow
ni bohol kilinki ro la fula ye pompo loje they are all fine they generate money nka how many tons of vegetables they import into this country sawosang sometimes as far away as Holland
yeah
jabol be ka boje
Holland yeah andu so be produce no janne
yeah
nin ko nam so la kar jabo do kumba san menton ba san karoton ba san
yeah
ibe min do kula jang mi to wa fela ban telephone
yeah
wala nimma mi wa fela nga processing plants no lojansi process no janne o kodo mi do musol bulu also wo fuare yakon we can lift them out of poverty over 1 year
yeah
Ousman Kamen Fote imbang ila fengolu fay because story facilities de
yeah
marketing facilities ñu liyele ye financial institution lo min be mako la banking
yeah
set up an agricultural bank, a women's bank or youth bank or whatever you will finance
yeah
very quickly will be able to become independent they will create jobs
yeah
they will pay taxes you widen the tax base
yeah
so bring in more money into the tax coffers you don't have to raise taxes
yeah
you can set up processing industries along those lines because agriculture will manufacture
exactly
you produce and then you set up processing industries don't sell the raw material anymore
yeah
you process that you add value and you take advantage of the whole value chain
yeah
and you can sell in most of Africa continental free trade area
yeah
we are high labor intensive and the labor is cheap
yeah
so we are competitive
yeah and I think Gambia jang example Jeremiah and Musugadi they're doing well until we went some time ago we went to Badibu Salikenya there's this garden the women garden Famaji Kafona
yeah
it's a community
no
Famaji no not Salikenya Saba
Saba okay
we went to Saba it's a organization Famaji the Gambian on the diaspora
okay
they partnered with some Germans I think wale ke sponsor anila banku dingol mi bela la gambe sate dingol mi bantala they have this organization called Famaji so we went there to cover the garden near garden ika hani fenko fertilizer ka be da ye fenko so de ka be produce ka botol wafi musol be garden so je ka jelle jo samo be kon $50 gamba every month ko jo fengo be le bi je bi everything ya be fengs abetara. There was a time coming president with that can told like a guy no jiwe. You left a president somebody someone feel a more not bank. You left a say no. Government no one does it. Altinaka use politically ka fonko alka tandi mo loko do ko maso. So but people like that, government should be able to go and learn from gardens like that and support them. So these are things me and government should look at.
Obatarla, you have that political will
exactly
to do the right thing. You see. Around Basuri, you have hectares and hectares of cashew plantations. It's the same thing in the New Museum. Near processing plant lo cashew. Instead of selling cashew tonal to Senegal and India and what, you can process that here locally, add value, and produce so much more. You can produce juice out of that. You can produce jam. You can do table desserts, etc. So many things you can do.
So finally, what I want us to look at, this is something that I did an opinion on. Map release, I'm looking at, because sometimes, I feel like we're not just journalists, but we are citizens. So I wrote this opinion piece about taxation. And then, because not trend when I saw the Alcalo, the chief of Invesco, Skafoko Mulkana tax with the area council. And then I saw a National Assembly member echo at the assembly. And I saw the minister's response, Skafoko, and do some presidential advice. And the notion that I picked from there was discouraging people to pay tax at the Brikama Area Council. But I did an opinion, and I was like, I don't even want to mention Birkama. But what the general notion left me hold on. The like tax pay. Now you dadu woto kafu banku di wala kana tax joe. Abina moment bite like the most is central government.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you cannot discourage citizens from paying taxes. Niyo okay drunk because 2021. I think President Barrow talk on ala message 2022 ala message be mumunity ala bang tax jo ako only 25% of government like tax jo ako na man tax jo mesilo do ko no la and I was so passionate about that statement and I keep saying we should write more stories like this because yal mana wokuma nim banko ntol na advocate mumunity ko do min ta julol min ta siata nta jono bari kodo ka wono masakunda ka nyimin be kana ka keno mentol ni tax jo
What Fatou?
but ni ko mole ko central government la tax jo bari kana local government ta jo and this is coming from a chief of a district it's coming from a national assembly member a lawmaker it's coming from a presidential advisor that is very dangerous I remember one time I was talking to the Commissioner General of GRA. I remember one time we were talking, we wrote some article, and he said to me, Fatou, you know, my objective is Puruka GRA credibility is very important. Ako when citizens lose faith in your tax revenue office, Miluka tax collect, that is very serious. Ako the reason why sometimes negative stories will article of K no maka ako alin yung kangaljak. Ako because negative stories will theater about the tax ning gamano tata full lose the faith le majo banko we crumble. And this is what I see is coming. Alka for mole kana tax jo Birkama area council. But Birkama area council are resident to almost 50% of the Gambia.
The population.
Ika mole kana tax jo. Ni majo ni ko mole ko ni ko Fatou kana tax jo. Ndi malam fa Birkama lade. Ndi hani man sakunda tanta jo. And then what are you encouraging? Non-payment of tax.
Exactly. And what they forget is when Birkama Area Council collects that tax, the bulk of it goes to central government. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if central government is telling you don't pay tax to Birkama Area Council, they are shooting themselves in the foot.
Exactly.
But the other side of the story, when Barrow is telling us pay tax, Barrow doesn't pay a butut in tax. Yet he earns $500,000 a month. But he doesn't pay a butut in tax. Why is that? How is that fair? How is that fair?
But in the constitution,
that has to change. That has to change.
You have to lead by an example.
Yeah. But you see, taxation.
American president.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We give this guy everything, even including clothing. We give him everything. Yeah. $150. I heard CD Keita saying $150,000. Who are they taking for fools?
Akama 150 CD.
Go. Forget about Depanso, but the total amount going to the State House is more than the National Assembly and Judiciary combined.
Did you see the Askanwi story that they broke? They were allocated 80 million. They spent over 150.
Yeah. But that's what's happened every time. And when they are short of money, they just do environments.
Exactly.
And they just transfer the money.
There's no budget credibility.
Charles, what is wrong with the internet? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So when they are short of money, they just do environments and move here and nobody asks any questions. And the parliament doesn't ask questions. And parliament allocates those resources. So they should be asking questions. Why do you have so many environments happening? They don't ask questions. Anything goes. Okay? Gambia government is not accountable to anybody. And that is what is alarming and has to stop.
Yeah.
The National Assembly should hold them accountable. They have the possibility of summoning any minister or the president or the vice president to come and explain things.
Yeah.
Why don't they do it? Because it's NPP controlled and they're just doing the president's bidding. Yeah.
So
until we tell our people, even if you don't win the case, continue summoning them. You know?
Yeah, but the non-payment, tax.
No, I mean, it's very concerning. If you look at the tax revenue in the Gambia, the different sources, one of the sources me along is contributing almost a minuscule to non-existent amount, well, property tax. In many countries in the world, this is one of the biggest sources of capital, and it's also biggest sources of tax revenue.
Yeah.
And tax revenue, it is the kind me along ko abuka distortion or create back.
Yeah.
You know, people own a lot of land here. What you can talk about, okay, it is a mansakundati. It is a lower keno like the property tax. You know, in every region, this level let.
Yeah.
The area council dama on their own, well, they operate within a discretion that they are given. Ni tata and nilbe ming if you collect motor for Brikama area council, well, they selected this amount. Since this new administration that motor for Brikama area council, they took this amount and they spend this amount and wasted this other amount. Well, they've accounted for everything they've been collected. Honestly. They are very transparent about it.
Yeah. One of the most transparent.
Yes, they are telling me but where they must imunya supporters you are not a supporter of them. Yes. Iman kodota etulungala ibe kodota kan ibe dokoka and you know that nyilbe nyinta kan thing they are and he's elected. Ne nyiltata ay mol alaman korola mialon kamanya nakela he will face the consequences. He's not somebody imposed on the people. He's elected. It's so just because of political reasons, just for short-term political gain. You are getting in the way of something Mialonko is for the national benefit. They are not thinking in the general interest because anything Mialonko, you are constraining the ability of the government to generate revenue from any kind of tax. Nikoleko, he broke the law. He said something he's supposed to do. He brought a whole new assessment. Okay, I'll stop. But there is a due process. Luale fanembi. And it and molla. I lua break that. But it wuli. These useless people advice in any sensible situation in the world. Mote do sano advisor to an alcalo, not more to an alcalo of a president. I mean, the advice of a president. Had alcalo will be saying, "Nin do sano na ko mbekele advisor." It is son. Yet I will come advisor.
Political affairs.
But Pakala Diamo be than the political affairs. Amanta Diamo can tax school when is tax a part of his purview. What's an economic affairs matter?
That's why is a sad case. When you have people like that.
It's like it's like we are in some sort of like a very sad theater, except that this is reality. Somebody like Dusan, we know long about public finance, tax revenue generation, the appropriate tax rate.
The chief himself, that chief, it turned out that he owes years of taxation to become an area council. And he was paying the bare minimum.
I will not even blame the chief right now, but because what he's getting is cue from somewhere. Niwo chief diamuta but mansakunda la nyaton ko diamuta ya nyitandi wala mumusiloti. This area council is duly elected and they are operating within law. More ya sembo sotole ning ibe tax mill lake nata siata. There are processes. Now after they are doing the assessment wrong. After the assessment is wrong. Only assessment. Make sure that next election you know your.
And honestly, the Itolka increasing from 4. It was during Sirifo time. It was approved by Musa Drame, the then Minister of Local Government. So covering Honorable Maimuna Sise raised at the Assembly. Honorable Alaji Dawoka, oh no, in fact, the Minister Besirinjang, Atele approved. He went through the process time, and this was through Sirifo time. So why are you people bringing this up and making it look like it's a problem? For me, it's not even the political angle. For me, it's nobody should discourage citizens from paying taxes. To be honest, the president, for example, Lola ako Gambino buka tax ako only 25% na kajo. And the woman bete abangko.
Yes,
Julol kana langkan.
But it politics dundi because now Yankuba NPP fenkuotin. They would not have done that.
And Yankuba, look at
if Yankuba was an NPP candidate or his party affiliation was NPP, Yinyinketa at a killer. it is like politics dundi je because
Yes.
adu nyim politics manyenatar like.
Yeah, honestly.
And what's more, Yankuba is the chairman who has distributed $28 million to his constituents
Yeah.
a few weeks ago.
When they came,
Last
their
year,
account
he
was
distributed
red.
14 million.
Yeah.
After having paid back over $10 million
In
deficit,
deficit. Yeah.
Taraji.
Yeah.
He cleared that, and he distributed $14 million last year.
And this year, 28
Half a
just
million
2 weeks
per
ago.
ward. He distributed 28 million, 1 million per ward, and is promising 2 million per ward next year. That's going to be 56 million.
Yeah.
After having created over 350 jobs in less than 2 years. After having sunk over 70 boreholes in West Coast region. After having given scholarships to close to 3,000 kids in West Coast region.
And I think his biggest challenge is fighting corruption in his council.
Yes,
Yeah,
but, he has overcome that now.
Yeah.
And now he's getting his resources to finance his development agenda.
Honestly.
About 3,000 kids plus school fees, you're paying that.
Yeah.
Some of them at university.
Yeah.
You create over 350 jobs.
Yeah.
You sunk over 70 boreholes. And you still manage to distribute $28 million to your constituents.
Yeah.
We should be holding that guy in high esteem.
Honestly,
and showcasing his achievements.
Honestly, I think, what he took over and where we are today, I mean, they are really trying. I
And
think
this is the guy
government
who
should just
they
encourage them.
tried to break in every single way.
Yeah.
They went to the point of arresting his
From court.
entire council.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From courts to police
No, the
stations.
thing is, if your interest is national development,
Yeah.
and you see examples of things that are happening.
Yeah.
Me, I'm not a member of UDP.
Yeah.
I have no reason to
Support Yankuba.
support Yankuba. I'm not on his staff.
Yeah.
But if certain things when they're happening, let's tell the truth.
Yeah.
Even if the borough government today, I'm criticizing them. When I see them do something
You
that is
have
right, I will
always
tell
said
them.
it. Yeah, you said it.
Yeah.
We wish we could save some of that.
We have to correct the misinformation they themselves are engaging in.
Definitely.
This, especially, some of these, the things that Dr. Cisse is going online where he's proclaiming one thing and the reality is completely different. When you come to in front of the Gambian people, we know the NAVEC situation as it is right now. You come and open your eyes and face the nation with a straight face and say that we are going to have universal power in in a year from now? I mean, you are basically laughing in the face of the people.
What does the law say about giving false information?
Apparently, that law doesn't apply to the Minister of Information.
He can don't charge you all what you know, giving false information.
Yeah, it depends on
I
who's giving the
mean, this
information.
government, it is this government that published a roadmap that was approved by the Adambaro cabinet.
Yeah.
That energy roadmap says Gambia will have 100% electricity access when? 2025 already. By now we should have
2025.
we are already here. This same government approved by a cabinet who, the cabinet of Adama Barrow himself, the energy roadmap.
And we have never been further away from energy self-sufficiency.
And did you hear this government come back say that we are the one who made this promise? This is where we are for this and these reasons. We didn't reach the goal we set. Well, now we are changing it, and we believe we've learned our mistakes. Now we are embarking on another, phase of it. No. What did we get? The Minister of Finance, who probably did, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Information, who probably didn't read the energy roadmap. I'm pretty sure Dr. Ismail Cisse didn't even read the energy roadmap to know what is happening there. If he reads it, he probably doesn't understand half of it. But yet he will have no problem going before the nation, making another proclamation that we are going to have universal access in a year, when he is completely oblivious to the fact that the government already made a promise and that time period has arrived and we didn't attain that promise they made.
And that is why it's important for us to come out and discuss these issues of the nation.
Yeah.
Because they think that our memories are so fickle, we will forget those things.
Yeah.
And
one thing I also wanted to bring, but when I have you guys here, somebody just texts me, but we have to wrap up. But one thing I wanted to bring up, Senegal, covering this new government came, Sonko came out and said, the former finance minister, the late Mustafa Ba, told them when they just became elected, before they assumed, they wanted to know the state of their economy. The finance minister was putting them through, Makila finance minister. But in private, he also told them they had to falsify numbers, put grading with the IMF and others, so that they can attract second loans. And Kabiri Sonko Amafon in June 1st. Kabiri told you audit he told as a government, audit they did a press conference. And they said they were debt was over 100 and something %. You mean for IMF,
Exactly.
And then they were very transparent. They also said over how many billion was missing. But they were covering these numbers so they can attract, so they are grading etc. Santo, etc. countries to me access to know. So Kabiri Sonko the government they came hard. Because Sonko attack a political tool because election can attend. Now ila audit me, ila miyanko is an independent body. What for audit they confirm these figures.
Exactly. IMF
nata we will go and do our own internal investigation. Last week, IMF came and confirmed all the numbers. In fact, IMF mean for all of gonna ground. So,
and you see,
if Senegal can do that, are we concerned? Should we be worried?
we should be very worried because when we do our auditing here, after these people go, we will find a worse situation here per capita. Okay, Senegal's economy is bigger, so the amounts will be bigger. But per capita, we will find a worse situation here. Okay, Senegal bring Macky Sall bita. Akoila GDP, debt to GDP ratio was 70%.
Yes.
Because he wanted to stay within the ECOWAS convergence criteria and the UMO convergence criteria, etc., 70%. I downloaded the audit report from the Court of Auditors in Senegal, and I went through it. The GDP to debt ratio on that one, and they haven't finished investigating, it's 99.67%. 99.67% debt to GDP ratio. So they've hidden about 29% they only hide. The debt of the country, Macky Sall, it was 13 trillion CFA. And it turned out it is 18 trillion CFA. They managed to hide 5 trillion CFA. That's 5 million CFA. You only hide.
40% hide.
Part of that hiding is because what we have had here and which we brought back again, at the central bank, we have multiple accounts for the government. They had the same thing. They had multiple accounts for the government, and they were borrowing from those without even showing them. And the government officials, some were allowed to go and borrow on behalf of the state. And what they brought in, they got commissions on it. How can you have a civil servant borrow on behalf of the state without going to parliament, without going to authorizations? Okay? And they were selling off like here every asset that the government owned. These people even sold a cemetery.
The prisons, robots.
They sold the prison. They sold the Supreme Court. They cut half of the land of Italo Dantec and sold it off.
The resident of the speaker.
And the prime minister.
They sold it.
They were selling, and that's what we're having here.
Even the residents that were built for ministers.
The Chief Justice's house is being given to Barrow. Most of the TDA here is being sold off to God knows who. They went to Parliament to complain about the Tourism Development Board. The Tourism Development Board went to Parliament to complain about request an inquiry into Ahmad Ba. What happened? Nothing. Our lands are being sold left, right, and center all over the country. We are selling our agricultural land to speculators from abroad. When we should have a moratorium on the sale of agricultural land. Our sea is the same thing. Our fisheries resources are going to the highest bidder and doesn't come to the country.
we have an agreement where we are having a situation where now foreign vessels are coming and fishing as much as they want, and there's no control whatsoever on it. Yeah, because the agreement we have with Senegal, any ship can go and register in Senegal. You come and fish in Gambian waters, fish as much as you want, and you don't even have to report to anyone in the Gambia.
But Senegal is stop.
Let me tell you, there's a certain time of the year, you are not allowed to fish in Senegal a certain time of the year. Well, during that time period, and it's supposed to be for the whole sub-region, all those fishermen in Senegal will come here. You go to Gunjur that time, you think you are in Senegal.
Resources.
They all come here to fish. Yeah. So we can have fishing vessels that are registered in Senegal. They will be coming and fishing in our waters. Major fishing vessels catch as much fish as they want and then go back to Senegal. They don't even, and they'll not be breaking the law because that's the agreement Mr. Drame signed, with his counterpart in Senegal. I wrote an article all about that.
How can you sign those kind of agreements? It's just like when I said for the Senegambia bridge, not only did they mortgage the bridge, but they mortgaged part of our sovereignty.
Exactly.
Because we have the sovereign decision to do what we like in this country and to develop what we want in this country. They went to mortgage that, say that now, by virtue of the Africa 50 agreement, we cannot build bridges here, we cannot build a competing road there, or any competing infrastructure, we cannot build it.
For 25
years.
In your own country.
So we have mortgaged even part of our sovereignty. Even part of our sovereignty has been mortgaged. Not even Ibrahim Silayo, that root articles are about Mr. Dabo.
Finance Minister, no Ibrahim, but Finance Minister could know, we are part of ADB, so
But why would you put it? And in that agreement, there's a clause there. If you go and break any of the clause, that you'll have to settle it at international arbitration.
Exactly.
Not
even our courts. Our courts are incompetent.
That money will be taken from, like,
the 100 million.
No, forget about 100 million. So, suppose ADB or EU wants to give us budget support. Remember what happened between Gambia and Alimenta when we lost the case? The budget support that EU was supposed to transfer to Gambia. It will be taken from any money that we are due.
That's available to us, that can be attached somewhere.
We have to end it here.
We have to keep talking.
We have to keep talking. We have to keep talking. But thank you so much, guys. Mr. Manneh, this is the reality. This is the state of our nation. And I think it's important we just put it out. And obviously, if government has alternative views, they're welcome to come
Yalla ñul they throw so much at us. Ka fa na meta bi batali ye day. Nkana batan kana day. Nkana after to a point me ya lon ko ngoda ñinte falen lo fa nga fere nga bule kono. Ni ngoke bankole bebe tiñala. Tolle siñum falen no. Ngam fan kanu. Nga nkana soyem foire yande mi ya lon ko si laban joy yandi la. Nga fere nga ñim banko nga masakunda fale. Mo kelo ñaadi de 2026. Ngata election la nga banko falen mi man carte soto election register ta carte ñini min tabe wula ma bo kendeke min ma soto wala ita filitale register, go and get your voters card and you vote and we will protect your vote moto election su jara koteke. Let's do that and change this government ni man ñim falen nka min be fale ten nta be fono la fawni nga be fu do ko sikala ñoo kamale bare min ka kanyim bako kam mobe akole ya jele nga feri nga nyima sakunda fali jane banko tobe wafila jane banko sufuta temet mi yalon ko bebe sawunda ngata sidu la do nyini ate keno la ngam fankanu la dimbayal kanu nga lon ko banko mun tolle ta daga na foro ya busi nyulu la ngana masakunda busi tolle ke jo itaman ken tolti ntolle tamu do ko tolle nge bula do ko lan ke jo ni man kontani nge bay ngamodo sambana. That's important. Baro salon ko ma kon laftale ye banko ye tamanya ni ma keno nyama be bon la jele.
Thank you very much. Doctor?
No nyi okay bitum ndes min fono amen nyim diamo ni aje be diaw jama fo kanja na nyaton kol wede mu president wolti wo wede mu ministality wo wede mu advisality ni te be siri nyim banko be siri palaso ni la duko ke yake anyama ibe banko bele nafaka ba ni mela banko fana ni mela doko ke a nyama nyanta kila nyama ibe sirim place oto bi isa mira abe nafa kande bari sama lungo bina la miyalo ko tebe nimin salala so ni be la place ikana nyina miye sindije kana nyina ko me banko la nyaruta wala nyante sindije wala nyante kele la miroti wala nyante kele la dokoti ha bi ko se dia nyaawnya a lungo bina la miyalo ko molbe silale nga kol kontibo Macky Sall sanji lul koma waran sanji worwula koma abe siri wato men na nimmo kay ko bi ite be borle la banko kaneta si banku doto
kala musoka radio ko ka kumbo kala broda man tamano
ado be damen jam fo hani ka futa banku doto say we koleyama iman son fo futa banku doto say ado wati bina sila be tarna ado lamin to hani ka finti we koleyala so ibes ande min fola momo be ado baro la masukunda to ala understand ko jang we are talking about bankola nyatota bankola nyatota wala nyanta kila mbela mirod so ko ite momo ite mimbe place o famoto melo ko place o nyum ko mayate is very high place e kana son ko mim just bibi drong ite la boss mimbe o nafala drong min diata wo ite be wala kela min diata wo ite be wala fola ibe modol nambara la kono nambaro bina la e fon ko kan sa so e kana nyine fanna ibe posno posonto allo hakilo to ko konti bolungo binal adun koko ga kijambi e kana mira ko ite se tarno wesi no jam forever fo mi alon ko ite so konti bo balino wote fenke no momo be palaso to jam wato le bije ala wato min fo no wato site be bola jeel adu min keta je mo be ba jelal
Thank you very much, Dr. Gajigo. Thank you very much, Dr. Manneh. It's very important conversation, Odiat. And I want to borrow the president's favorite word. There's life after presidency.
Yes.
I hope he lives
said,
by that.
There's life after presidency. There's going to be life after being a minister. There's going to be a life being after being an advisor or a National Assembly member. When people always remember Kosoma, even in Plaza Minto Soma, even the opposite side. I always say this to people. Just 6 years, 7 years ago, President Barrow was in opposition. Being President Barrow como opposition, banku miyango malafi bankola. Also, all his life when he was opposition, did it mean malafi bankola? No. You know, bankola wala nyama.
Yes.
In any country where you have a strong opposition, a strong civil society, a strong and vibrant media, democracy katama wala.
And development follows.
Yes. But in that rate, opposition, or a media, Luminica Diamaka Kumol for an civil society. Go to Ismail Amela, job stroke and Madi Jobatakan, Kafo Madiako, foundations, they're sitting in their corners, no website and all this. Don't do that. Ismail, we have all these videos and audios about you, telling us the Barrow government is the most incompetent government, telling us that this government will never do anything good for this country, telling us President Barrow was clueless. There isn't anything that you didn't say. Now, we respect you for being in government and being, seeing the positive changes there. But also, we will not forget Menofotakunum. So if you are going to speak to us about the realities that is happening. And let's stop the personal attacks because it doesn't work. And it's not,
that will not happen.
Somebody like Alaji Barrow Mialonko, when he was working for TRRC, was actually using his private resources and working very hard, preparing, difficult, if you read that autobiography, you'll see the amount of work this man did. And there's not a single person who has worked in TRRC who cannot attest to the professionalism of that guy.
Yes.
Then we have this guy going around saying very disrespectful things about
and
that
you know
guy.
what was very upsetting for me? Horoja as an accomplished woman.
Exactly.
Horoja is one of the most accomplished women in this country. Saying he went to TRRC to find a wife meant that this girl was just sitting there. She's an object. You objectify.
That's the disrespect.
That's the disrespect
for women.
The highest to a woman of that caliber. Somebody who has all her life.
But that is a projection. That's a projection of who he is.
Left all of that to come and work for the Gambia. Yes. You are objective. Let's forget about Laji Barofa. Woma kele tanate anu ya fendi. But Horoja.
That pettiness. That pettiness is a reflection of who he is.
That was wrong.
See,
if anybody said that of your wife or your sister, you would have been offended.
Normally,
I was very offended by that.
Normally, I don't talk about this guy.
Yeah.
So I think it's a waste of time because he has no credibility. I don't want to waste my time talking about him. But that one upset me.
Yeah.
It upset me because even him I thought that would have been beneath him.
Yeah.
I thought that would be beneath even him.
But anyway, Alhaji Barrow gave a very fitting response, which is online, which
I was scratching my head to whether to post or not post. But I said,
it should be posted because...
but I was the one who posted Ismail attack. Now, the right to respond, I think I just deserve it. And
if he can come out and say something as indecent as that, Alhaji Barrow's reply should be posted.
Exactly. Yeah, it was posted and we posted it. But, I think, to be honest, I think that was below the belt. Horoja and Alhaji Barrow gave their best to the Gambia. Now, criticize Alhaji Barrow how he did his job. I would clap for you. Yeah. But don't go personal. Yeah. And somebody like Horoja, a dignified and accomplished woman like her, you objectify like that in a public forum from a state minister, that was below the belt.
We saw her perform at TRRC, and we saw the professional competence.
Yeah.
So if you think that somebody of that caliber is just sitting there waiting for a man to come pick her, that says a lot about you.
Yeah.
It says a lot about you as a person.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, guys. We cannot finish.
Thank you.
That one, anyway, you guys have to come again. I'm going to do this a monthly show. I think there's no politics in this. It's purely economic and, genuine and current affairs. People, refreshingly, people want to hear conversations like this. Yeah. Honest reality of our state of our country. Yeah. And I think we have to have honest of this.
Right.
When we come back again, we'll look at more other issues. I hope the government will learn from this conversation. And, hopefully, they will do that. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And to my team, Charles, Sire, Lamin, and Mustafa, and everybody, thank you very much. Good night to you all. And thank you to all of you that were sending us stars. We appreciate it. See you again next week, Thursday. Bye-bye.
We are happy to announce the launch of our new logo. We have evolved since our incorporation in 1997, and it is time to refresh our new look to reflect who we are today. Before I reveal our new look, however, walk with me while I take you through our journey of the last 25 years. Trust Bank was incorporated on July 3rd, 1997 and began operations on October 1st, 1997. Following the collapse of the parent company of its predecessor, Meridian, the CBG stepped in and recapitalized the bank and held the shares in trust, thus the name Trust Bank. In 1999, the first investors who responded to the IPO and paid $1.50 per share received their maiden dividend of 50 bututs per share. In 2000, the bank fully paid back its investment by declaring another dividend of $1.20 bututs per share, making it a cumulative dividend per share of $1.70, which was 20 bututs above the purchase price. Between 2002 to date, share capital has increased from $27 million to $200 million, indicating that the bank has grown organically by plowing back profits to increase capital, while at the same time paying dividends to shareholders. The bank was listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange in November 2002, being the first ever cross-border listing in the sub-region. Now let's talk about awards. The bank was awarded the insignia of the National Order of the Republic of the Gambia, ORG, in the year 2010 by His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia. During the past years, the bank has received so many national and international awards. Banker Magazine, 6 times. Global Finance, 6 times. Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, 5 times. We began operations with 3 branches. Now, we have 18 branches and 20 ATMs and counting. On digital services, mobile app, check. Online banking, check. Transaction alerts, check. Watch this space. We've got more coming. Creating employment, yes, we've got that too. 400 and counting. And we take great care of our people too. Medical insurance, life insurance, private and state pensions, annual pilgrimages for both Muslims and Christians, training, yes, we do them all. One team, one family, one goal. That's the Trust Bank spirit. On corporate social responsibility, we have spent over $50 million in various causes. We care, and so we share. Over the years, we have paid over $1.6 billion to our shareholders, which translates to a whopping $20 per share and counting. Phenomenal returns for our shareholders who purchased at $1.50. Corporate taxes, over $1 billion is paid. Our journey started with a vision to create the kind of company that delivers quality services and innovative products with an inspired team dedicated to serving our customers, our environment, and our communities at large in the most caring manner. We remain fully committed to delivering excellent services to each of our stakeholders, customers, employees, shareholders, and partners. So, we remain true to who we have always been. As we